of
We
clubs.
will call the school board meeting for Monday, January 12th, 26 to order. I will note that access to meetings are both streamed online as well as residents are welcome to come and attend our meeting. We will move into the meeting opening and roll call, please.
Mr. Lepak?
Here.
Ms. Potter Nelson? Here. Mr. Summers?
Here.
Ms. Mercer? Here. Mr. Kowalski?
Here.
Ms. Erler?
Here.
Mr. Pope?
Here.
Ms. Bushman?
Here.
Mr. Liebrick?
Here.
We have a quorum.
Thank you. We will stand for the pledge of allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
So we will move into our Mandana Bliss Award. And the Mandana Bliss Award is a symbol of our deep appreciation for the unwavering commitment and outstanding efforts demonstrated by our staff members for educational excellence in the Stevens Point Area Public School District. It is named in honor of Mandana Hale Bliss, Stevens Point's first school teacher and trailblazer, whose exceptional service and dedication continue to inspire us all. This award lends us the opportunity to shine a light on remarkable contributions made to this district by our staff and to recognize their exemplary service. I will turn this over to our superintendent.
Thank you, Meg. So we are going to be honoring a 5th grade teacher at Kennedy Elementary School this month. Her name is Brianna Weber, and we have 6th grade students, Taylor Pepper, here. So I would like to ask Brianna and Taylor to come forward. Congratulations.
A definition of a teacher is a person who teaches, especially in a school. But my definition of a teacher is someone who is caring, funny, and encourages me to grow, not only in school but as a person as well. My definition describes Mrs. Weber. She always takes her time to understand her students, encouraging us with patience and kindness. She always has a smile on her face and creates a space where we feel supported, safe, and confident. She is not just a teacher, but someone who has made a lasting difference in all of our lives, including me.
Congratulations, Brianna. So we'd like to come forward too. We're going to go take a picture here in the middle, and then each school board member would like to shake your hand after the photo. Nice job. Come here.
Thank you.
Start over here. Sure. Thank you. Oh, right there. You get to go.
Thank you so much and congratulations.
Congratulations.
Nice.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
You did such a nice job.
Congratulations, this is the best part.
Thank you. Well done. Congratulations.
Nicely done.
Good job. You're like, I'm just gonna get the camera. Thank you, Taylor, and congratulations to y'all.
We will now move into our public comment section. We allow for both in-person comments as well as email. Did we receive any email comments?
We did not.
Okay, so we will move into our in-person comments. First, I have Carol Colby speaking on behalf of Sparta, and she is speaking on 8G.
Hi everybody, thank you for having me here today and this opportunity to present to you some information that we shared at our General Assembly today. My name is Carol Colby, 27 Hazelwood Drive, Stevens Point, Wisconsin. I'm the current president of Stevens Point Area Retired Teacher Association. It is a 100-plus member group which was established in 1969. At today's general meeting, we discussed item 8G. We unanimously passed this motion that I present to you now on their behalf. It reads as follows. The Stevens Point Area Retired Teachers Association supports the motion regarding the tax bill insert as presented to the Stevens Point Area Public School District School Board on January 12th, 2026. And thank you.
Thank you, Carol. And then we will have Carol Povich speaking as Carol Povich. Agenda item 8.
Right.
Who are you before?
As president of Sparta, speaking on their behalf, well, you know,
Okay.
hand. So, but this is something that that I'm referencing Board Policy Manual Bylaws PO 0144.3, which is conflict of interest. In regard to item 8G, I believe that a public school board member, Alex Summers, operates a charter school whose students are voucher eligible. Perhaps this needs to be fully disclosed, and perhaps he should abstain from public school board matters involving vouchers. Thank you.
Thank you, Carol. We next have Heidi Udra. Is that
Close.
close? Even close?
Close is good. I timber.
So the U is just not pronounced.
Okay.
Thank you all for letting me share today. I know that you have done a lot of work to bring a new portion for the AG, and we just wanted to thank you for that work from our school and from all that you've done. But it is important to us that the current funding system, although very important for our school, it's very confusing. I think it's difficult for the district to manage the way it's currently. Our position is that the funding system for the WPCP should be changed so that taxpayers are treated equally in financing the state's parental choice programs. Today, this is not the case. School districts with residential choice students should be treated the same way that the Milwaukee schools, public schools, are treating the students there, with no property tax impact tied to school choice participation. The term for this is decoupling, which means that the state, not local taxpayers, should be responsible for funding choice students. Ultimately, school choice did not create the problem. The funding structure did. School choice cost taxpayers less than per student than the other students in the district, providing a choice for our parents. It's 70% less per pupil what we spend for those that are part of the parental choice program as opposed to those other students, costing taxpayers less. Again, I just want to encourage you to consider the wording choice within what you've already changed, in that we would like to see decoupling legislation that would reduce property taxes for almost everyone in the district and eliminate the current funding confusion. Because obviously it is confusing, and I'm sure it's very difficult for you when you're setting up your budgets for the year, and we would like to see that decoupled from the system. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Heidi.
I will just note in response to that, just as an item of interest, in one of our final agenda items tonight, we will be, as a board, discussing 2 competing resolutions that will be coming in front of the delegate group down in Milwaukee at the State School Board Convention next week. One of the resolutions is supporting decoupling, and the other resolution is not supporting decoupling. The decision that is made down at that delegate assembly provides guidance to the Wisconsin Association of School Boards Legislative Advocacy Wing. And so that is a matter that the board will be discussing this evening, in the event that is something people are interested in, either watching at the meeting tonight if you're already here, or watching on streaming service. The final speaker is Chris Lawrence, 8G.
Should move that. Excuse me. Good evening. Hi, my name is Chris Lawrence. I'm with School Choice Wisconsin. I'm actually a parent of 4 school choice students. I don't live in the Stevens Point area, but I represent School Choice Wisconsin. We represent schools statewide, including a few here. One you just heard, Heidi. We have many others around the state, over 400. I want to speak generally about just school choice, just so the board can have a good understanding of why there's tons of demand for school choice. Why? The program has grown tremendously over many years. It started in Milwaukee and went to Wisconsin, Racine, Wisconsin. We also have a special needs scholarship program. First, thanks for the opportunity to speak. So, school choice, what is it? It's really about empowering parents to do what they believe is best for their children. Very simple. It's about finding a learning environment where their child feels safe, supported, and able to succeed. These families often are not turning away from public education. They're just making a more thoughtful, reasonable decision based on their child's individual needs. And parents take this, they consider a whole host of things: safety, academics, faith, and many other reasons. In Wisconsin, our parental choice programs are designed to expand these opportunities for families who may be otherwise limited by income and often location. So for the Wisconsin program, the families who qualify, their incomes are 220% below the poverty level. For a family of four, single family of four, that's $70,000 a year. It's not a lot of money. In many zip codes around our state, you can find places where you simply don't qualify because the cost of living is too high in those areas. In the demand, there's tons of demand for school choice that exists for a variety of reasons, as I spoke earlier. Many of them small class sizes, more individualized attention. Like I said, faith-based is a big thing as well. Better instruction, and in a safer environment. So in general, just school choice just recognizes the important truth that students are not a one-size-fits-all. That's the reason why the program exists. It gives parents these options because sometimes some options just doesn't work. We have families in this program, some send their kids to a private school and the public school at the same time. Very common thing, actually, more common than you would expect. And they do this for a variety of reasons because they're looking at that child and they're just saying, what is the best need for that child? And this program gives parents that freedom and opportunity to really tailor directly to that child. And like I said, I have 4 in the program. I drive, I'm in Brown Deer, but I drive over 3, 4, 5 cities in this, multiple suburbs in Milwaukee. I got a kid in inner city Milwaukee and far out in Wauwatosa. If you're familiar with that, it's about a 30-minute drive. I had one going to a boarding school in Watertown. And I live in Brown Deer, so it's an hour away. But that's the sacrifice a lot of parents make to get their kids a better education. And a lot of people, and there's over 60,000 kids in the program now, and they're better for it. Thank you for your time. I appreciate it.
Thank you. No one else has signed up for comment. Is there anybody else here who would like to speak this evening? Okay, we will move into our presentations, and we have our student senate representative report from the ladies.
Good evening, everybody. I hope everybody had a great winter break. Next week is very big for SPASH. It marks the end of the second quarter and the first semester, and we will be starting our new semester, so the second semester, on the 27th. Along with that, we will also be starting our 2026-2027 registration process with the annual elective showcase on Wednesday, January 21st. So all 9th graders and their families are invited to come to SPASH to tour elective classrooms and learn about all of the elective options at SPASH. Later on in that evening, Mr. Vollendorf meets with new students and families to introduce them to SPASH and SPASH's programming. Last week, the Golf Coaches Association of Wisconsin recognized 4 members of the SPASH girls golf team as academic all-state. Congratulations to Carly Kostahusky, Vanessa Hatfield, Madeline Anderson, and Jenna Barber for receiving this outstanding honor. Our girls golf program had an incredible season this year, and their recognition certainly fits with the team's other accomplishments. Congratulations to the head coach Janessa Reed and assistant coach Scott Anderson for their role in leading and supporting these outstanding student athletes. Another big congratulations to SPASH students Keegan Ops, Evan Fournier, and Wyatt Whitty for taking first at Skills USA competition for the team engineering event. Thank you to the students and staff in the geometry and construction classes who made the Holiday Open mini golf course possible for our community and school. Over the 3 days it was open, approximately 3,027 people played this course. It was a great success. The Spash One Act plays are happening on January 23rd and 24th. They will be performing in the Spash Auditorium at 7 p.m. Spash's musical department finally gets a break from concerts and parades. Their next performances will be coming up late February and early March. Lastly, Spash's winter sports are right in the thick of it right now. Girls basketball is doing great with a strong record of 9-2, with their next home game being on the 22nd at 7:15. Boys basketball has a record of 7-2, with their next home game being on the 23rd at 7:15 as well. Girls hockey is having a solid season as they are currently 2-2 in conference, with their next game at 5 p.m. tomorrow against the Central Wisconsin Storm. Boys hockey has an outstanding record of 13-1 with their next home game on the 23rd at 7 p.m. Girls gymnastics has a meet tomorrow at 5:45. Boys and girls wrestling have a home meet on the 15th at 7 p.m. and boys swim team has an upcoming home meet tomorrow at 5:30. Thank you for listening to the Spash update for the month and have a wonderful evening.
Thank you.
Thank you. All right, we will move into the communications report. Sarah O'Donnell.
Hello. All right.
Oops, sorry.
Let's hop right in. We can kind of see. Oh, look at that. Goodness, your name. All right, we've got our December storytelling events and engagement. Lots and lots to cover in December. We had just a really good month running around capturing thank yous and some of the great events that Lily mentioned. Some unique events. UWSP was able to hold our Education Day this year. We had some snow last year that prevented that from happening, so really glad that the snow days and ice day we did had kind of worked around that for us, and just lots of great concerts and performances, and just really glad to be able to share all of that with our community. I am clicking, it's not doing anything. There we go. When we look at our website and digital engagement for the month of December, we saw slight growth year over year for that month. Engagement was up significantly, which we continue to see. We did see event count drop. Pretty good, a 9.8% year over year drop is significant. So we'll take a look and just see kind of if there were specific things that either people couldn't find or were looking for, or if it just overall was a month where folks just really weren't looking to download things, because December is just quite busy for all of us. A new feature that we have added to the website that I forgot to include on here is an AI chatbot. So if you are on that main page, we've put some preloaded questions in there for folks that we think are most likely they're looking for. So like calendar, lunch menus, enrollment information for when that season opens. But it's nice because we've also been able to see what questions people are asking as well, and adjust some of where that information lives on the website. So if you get a chance and you're on there, notice that it's in the right-hand bottom corner of the website. The other piece that we are continuing to look at for website and digital pieces is the Title II digital accessibility compliance that is coming up in April. I will continue to mention that every month. We continue to do our trainings in-house. We did not do anything in December because it's just so busy. But we'll start back up again with accessibility labs beginning in January, where we just offer folks to come in, we'll do some review, and then offer them work time to work specifically on any documents they're concerned about, or pages they're concerned about. So working to continue to keep that top of mind for folks that are really doing that external communication. That's really what we are focused on. So website mainly, some of those other digital pieces. Media coverage and public relations was a little bit slower for the month, but still had some nice stories in there. Social media engagement for the month, we saw a slight rise in total audience for both Facebook and Instagram, which are two main channels that we are living on digitally. We saw a drop in impressions and engagement month over month, not significant, but enough that it was a drop. So we'll continue to look and manage that. I was excited. I saw over the weekend we got a notification from Facebook thanking us for our high quality content and letting us know that they would be increasing our engagement within the algorithm. So I have no idea if that actually will happen, but I was really excited. We've never received that notification before. So I was like, okay, well, thank you, Facebook. That was a nice little message on a Saturday. And then looking ahead, this is the same list we've been working off of for the semester. So mid-year update would be kind of the next big thing that we'll see here, as our staff student rep had mentioned. We'll communicate that coinciding with the end of semester. So that will be both mostly a digital piece. Print is just astronomically expensive. It is, even the postage is just, it's really expensive. So we're keeping that as small as we can, while still communicating to everyone, all of our stakeholders. So we're trying to reach more than just families and staff in the community. Continuing to do referendum and budget updates, engagement recognition, that internal capacity and support, and then enrollment campaigns are our biggest focus right now, as we move into enrollment season. So, thank you.
Anybody have any questions of Sarah? All right, then, thank you, Sarah.
Thank you.
We'll move into our superintendent's report.
Sure, thanks, Meg. Thank you to our community once again. We had 3 different groups provide money to our Money for Meals program. Miriam Meeks donated $500, Wysocki Family Farms donated $1,000, and Peace United Church of Christ donated $359.72.
Not
Peach
It's
United.
not, no,
Wait, what is it?
it's, we had a typo.
I didn't know who Peach was. I was like,
Princess Peach.
Our apologies. SLT Subs or Jersey Mike's donated $430.28 to the Boston School Forest for the Polar Pond Plunge. Congratulations to Monica Anderson. She is a teacher at Washington Elementary School. She won the Hot 96.7 and Cheryl Tire of the Month teacher recognition. Semester 1 ends, as Lily indicated, next week. Reminder, we have had 2 inclement weather days, so we've used up our built-in days. So if we have any more inclement weather days, they will likely be e-learning days. So I just wanted to make sure that the community and parents and students were aware of that. State Education Convention is next week. We have some board members attending that. So please take a look at the itinerary that Nicole sent out. There's a variety of things happening throughout the week. Portage County Business Council dinner is Thursday, January 29th at 6 o'clock at the Holiday Inn. If you are interested in attending, you need to let Nicole know ASAP. We have heard from G at this point, and Meg. So G and Meg will be attending, and Chris and I will be attending. So if anyone else is interested, just let us know. The Student Art Show will take place February 5th here at Bliss from 4:30 to 6:30. Generally, we've had some board members welcome people as they enter Bliss, so if there's any board member that is interested in helping to do that again, please let Nicole know.
Can you repeat the dates?
Yes, February 5th from 4:30 to 6:30.
Okay, thank you.
And then I just wanted to remind everyone that we did get 7 individuals that were interested in being placed on the ballot for the April election. I'm going to read those 7 candidates in the order in which they will appear on the ballot. Chris Scott, Jeff Ebel, Alex Summers, Elizabeth Potter Nelson, G. Pope, Ted Kowalski, and Miguel Gabriel Campos. And that wraps up my report.
Any questions before? All right, we will move into the community task force.
Sure, so I am going to introduce, we've got Mark Roffers, who is on the screen with us. Unfortunately, for us, he has to present at another school district tonight. So we do have Nick with us. Nick works for MD Roffers as well and is very knowledgeable and has actually been the person that we've worked most closely with. So welcome, Nick. It's nice to see you back here again.
Great. Well, thank you for that introduction, Corey. Nice to be here again. Nice to see you all again. I was here 2 months ago at the November 2025 board meeting to present our enrollment projections project that we had prepared for most of 2025 and then presented that to you all a couple of months ago. Today, I'm here to talk to you all about our long-range facility planning project. We have worked with several Wisconsin school districts on such a long-range facility plan. So I mentioned in our November meeting, we worked with about 50 Wisconsin school districts on enrollment projections. For many of those, they've hired us again for the next step after enrollment projections, which is based on those projections creating a long-range facility plan. So what this can involve is potential grade group shifts and changes, attendance area changes, building utilization changes. You'll remember from our enrollment projections, one of these schools that we had projected enrollment to capacity issues at was Plover Whiting Elementary School. So this long-range facility planning effort would address that among other potential issues. We have skills and expert experience in two kind of buckets in creating a long-range facility plan. The first being the technical development of different options. So creating different scenarios, exploring different options as to what the district would look like under a certain grade group shift, under attendance area shifts, under changes to building utilization. The second bucket is in the process of a long-range facility plan, in creating it as well as meeting facilitation. And we would do this through a community member-driven task force. So the next several slides, I'll go through the six tasks that kind of guide the district through such a long-range facility planning project. We'll have a couple examples as well too that Mark will go over later on in the presentation. So the first is assisting with the initial process steps, really starting to kick off the task force, assisting the district with task force composition and selection of task force members, advising on the task force charge as well as criteria that will be utilized by the task force in comparing different options. So not only enrollment projections, but also facility information, programming information, among many other things. A big part of this task is also just organizing and collecting information from a lot of different disparate areas within the district that are in different departments, such as current learning environments, physical environments of the schools, the physical quality of the schools, the fiscal health of the district in general, among many other conditions. It's kind of hard to see this image here, but we use this as a one-pager for a district we worked with recently to show a bunch of information about their elementary schools. The year they were built, the year they were last modeled or updated or renovated, the deferred maintenance that is required at each of those schools, if the schools have air conditioning, as well as our enrollment projections in comparison to the capacity of those schools. Task 2 within our proposed scope is our task force meetings. So we've budgeted 9 task force meetings to assist such a community member-driven task force in progressively achieving its charge of creating and sharing a preferred long-range facility planning option with the board. So the first couple of meetings would be ice-breaking for us to get to know task force members and vice versa, also to get to know district staff that will be heavily involved in the process. Probably the first 2 or 3 meetings will be that, along with foundational knowledge. We'll be presenting task force members with a lot of information and a lot of data, and that will certainly take a few task force meetings to get them up to speed with everything related to the district. We'll get into broad directions then for long-range facility planning, specific factors and components that are addressed in a long-range facility plan, and then get into actual option prep and evaluation, and then getting to that preferred option and the long-range facility planning report. Task 3 and Task 4, I was kind of talking about them at the end of the last slide, but Task 3 is narrowing the range of facility planning factors and options. So at a more broad level, discussing specific components that will be included in our long-range facility plan, others that the task force may not want to take up. Task 4 is establishing, communicating, and evaluating detailed options, specifically up to 8 different options for future school facility-related changes. So this can include, as I mentioned earlier, attendance area shifts, grade group shifts. We know the district has a unique grade group structure, as well as potential building utilization changes. We also envision that each option will have phasing components, so there could be short-term phasing, things that can be implemented within the next 2, 3, 4 years or so, more medium-term phasing within the next 5 to 10 years, and then long-term phasing likely 10 years and beyond for the district as part of a long-range facility plan. And Mark will go through a couple examples of some recent long-range facility planning efforts we've been involved in around the state.
Thanks, Nick, and thank you for allowing me to participate remotely. I'm in the Waunakee School District right now, doing the same thing that Nick did for you guys back in November. So we had a divide and conquer. What you're seeing here on screen are some examples from other school districts of some of the tools we use to communicate and help a task force, such as being proposed here, evaluate different options for how the district could change over time in the factors that Nick indicated. This happens to be from the Sun Prairie School District and was a tool to help the task force evaluate just one of many options that task force considered when it added its second high school and converted grades in its grade groups to bring ninth graders back to high school at the same time and add another middle school. So there were a lot of moving parts during that process. The map on the left shows the one attendance area scheme associated with the new middle and high school configuration. And you'll recall with the information that we shared with you in November that we've got similar kind of building blocks or neighborhoods crafted for the Point School District that could be utilized to help with this type of task. Well, what you see in the middle of the screen is what we call the dashboard that helped evaluate each of the options. There are, in the bold text there, 5 criteria that the school board in that case asked the task force to utilize to compare different options and to bring forward one that best met the criteria. And then if you squint, you see a lot of numbers and so forth. We help then develop metrics to help the task force complete that evaluation. The next slide shows a slightly different type of presentation. This we put together for a long-range planning process for the Oregon School District, just south of Madison. And this was, it's called PATH, but it's one of the options that district considered to deal with rising enrollment. The reason I present this, or we present this, is that it kind of represents the fact that this is not a process that will result in everything being done all at once. But in Oregon, just as we proposed for your district, there were short-term, middle-term, and long-term components of each of the options that were put forward to eventually kind of evolve to a facility plan over a period of 15 years and make short-term decisions in the early stages that led to a logical long-term solution.
Great, thank you, Mark. The last couple of slides here. So task 5 is refining, mapping, and evaluating that preferred option and associated phasing with that option. So this will be validating, describing that task force preferred facility option. That will end up serving as the district's long-range facility plan. And then task 6 is project management and board and staff interaction. So we budgeted up to 15 staff and consultant team meetings. These are really focused on 2 things. The first is preparing for the task force meetings, making sure we have a presentation for the task force meetings, preparing materials, exercises for the task force, and then later on in the process, helping to discuss internally, potential options and other broad components that will be discussed with the task force. And then the second will be following up from those task force meetings as well. So making sure we have all task force member questions answered, making sure that we are directing any resources to any other departments in the district, and just keeping everybody on the same page in preparation and debriefing from those task force meetings. We also have a couple Board of Education meetings in which we'll be coming in front of you guys again to just give you an update on how the task force is doing, any questions that task force members may have of you all, regarding guidance or direction for the charge, or criteria or clarifications, as well as at the end, the task force findings. Last slide here is our proposed timeline. So over the next few months, as winter wraps up and we get into spring of 2026, we would really focus on that task one, preparing everything for the task force, as well as starting some of our first foundational meetings, including understanding more about full day 4K beginning this September. Into summer and fall of 2026, we would have continued task force meetings and then actually get into preparing and showing the task force and discussing with them and evaluating different facility options. Through fall of 2026 and into winter and potentially into early next year, January of 2027, we will have our final task force meetings with that ending in a preferred facility option and associated phasing with that long-range facility plan. Yeah, and that is the end of the presentation. I'm happy to take any questions or comments that you all have.
How many members are you anticipating or would be ideal for the task force?
Yeah, we have found anywhere between 40 and 50, so around 45 is really ideal. Any fewer than that, we feel like we don't have as cross-representation of demographics that we need, and anything larger is difficult to work with.
Okay, so that actually is a good segue to my next question. What is the selection process and what are we doing to ensure that we have diverse representation?
Yeah, great. So the selection process, how it's worked with other school districts is we will send out, the district will help send out through social media, traditional media, other meetings with parents and other community members to get people interested, and then they'll submit an application. We typically have seen, and it's up to board and district policy, what you want the composition of the task force to look like. We've often seen recently a couple of districts we've worked with have had 3 buckets of what they want their members to be in. 1, parents with children in the school district. 1, parents that don't have children in the school district or have never had children in the school district, but are still taxpayers. And then the other is staff and teachers.
Okay. And then where does the board input fall into this process?
Mark, do you have a comment on that?
Yeah, absolutely. In a number of different places, particularly early. We will work with you to develop the specific charge for the task force. What do you want them to look at? What perhaps don't you want them to look at during the process? We just completed a process, for instance, that was focused on elementary schools. The district probably has needs at the middle and high school level, but it was the board just decided that was too much to chew it on in one time. They were right. And so they charged the task force to focus only on elementary schools. I'm not saying that that's what you are going to do or should do, but that's just one example of how the board kind of define the charge. Secondly, you will help, or we will ask you to set the criteria that the task force should use when it develops and considers different options. Criteria could include transportation efficiency, minimizing change for students, how well an option performs against keeping kids at the schools they're at versus not. Social and demographic factors could be considered an important criteria as the task force looks at different options. So B, we will ask you to help set the criteria that the task force utilizes. C, the task force invariably will have questions when evaluating and deciding what its charge is and what the criteria are. We'll do our best to help answer those questions, but we will almost certainly have to come back to the board once or twice to get clarification and further guidance to help the task force. So those are 3 ways that we will definitely propose to involve the board in kind of setting the program for the task force. They're focused on what you want them to solve.
And then from there, thanks, Mark. And then from there, the board's role is to react to the recommendation.
That's correct. You'll first off, you're not. The recommendation won't be a surprise to you when it comes. So Nick mentioned a couple of opportunities we have to meet with you and update you on the process. We'll work with the district to have information shared with you, obviously, throughout the process beyond those 2 meetings. Also work to make sure that there's a robust web presence where all materials will be available so people can kind of chart the progress and trace how the task force got to where it got to at the end.
Thank you.
And I would also add to some of the criteria. We worked with several districts, so we have dozens of different criteria that we've used with other districts and that we're able to calculate metrics, qualitative and quantitative metrics for. Some districts say, oh yes, these 3 are our most important. Another district might have 3 other very different important ones.
I wanted to ask, said 45 people roughly. Are they at any point in this process all together at a meeting at once?
We would expect them to be at every task force meeting.
Are there subgroups that go off? Because it looked like you had some other meetings, like 15 staff and some other meetings.
Yep, that's typically where the consultant and district staff will just meet to prep for those task force meetings, make sure materials are prepped, do debriefing from the last task force meeting, just make sure district staff and the consultant are on the same page for the next task force meeting, what's coming.
Can you refresh me how many meetings of 45 people?
9.
Planned?
9 task force meetings.
And you're saying if we okay this by next year at about this time, we would have, because I saw it's, what is this, fall
Winter
26?
27.
So at next year at this time, we would have come to some kind of.
And we would ideally have our first task force meeting within the next 2-3 months or so. Then we'd likely have about 1 a month through the end of this year, or probably extend into early next year.
When you mention your 3 buckets of people, I'm suggesting, is it wise to have a school board liaison, whoever that might be, to be at, they won't be obviously be at all the little meetings and planning meetings, but at the 45-person meeting. I know you're gonna report back to us, things like that, but I'm just saying the personal eye view of it to tell the board what their feelings are. And I mean, I would envision it as like non-participating observant.
Sure, I'm not opposed to having a board member or 2. I would not recommend having more than that.
But I would want it said as you're going, not if you wanna show up.
Right.
Okay?
And we've seen districts have 1 or 2 board members there in a non-participatory, just watching role, and then some that do not.
So our job is to say what we want you to look at, and we need to do that. If we wanna start on this, we need to do that by the next school board meeting. If we're gonna start.
If the board approves this tonight, we'll work with Nick and Mark to determine what the process is for the board creating those parameters. So yes, you create those, and then at the very end, you will react to the recommendations and make the final decision as to where we're gonna go from.
To stay at that timeline, we'd have to do it at the next school board meeting.
We will work with you and your district staff to develop a very detailed timeline so that we can deliver what we promise in that schedule. And I will also say for task force member recruitment, it's typically advisable that we actually set those meeting dates up front so that task force members know, hey, we're going to ask you to commit to 9 meetings. And these are the nights that we're going to ask you to commit 2.5 hours per night to come. So that helps everyone plan their schedule, and it helps the potential task force members, understand what they're getting into and understand the commitment they're making.
I just wanna be clear, because apparently we're gonna vote on this tonight, on the $52,000 expenditure. I wanna be clear exactly what we're voting on. By the next school board meeting, you will have worked with Roffers, MD Roffers, our administrative staff, to say, these are the things we want the task force to look at.
No, what you're voting on tonight is to allow us to move forward with MD Roffers to create a community-wide task force. And then I'm sure we'll probably, be able to have that for the next board meeting, but we haven't even had an opportunity to talk to Nick and Mark about that because we weren't sure if the board was gonna let us move forward.
But there's gonna be a lot of work done between now and the
A
next
lot.
school board meeting. And you're gonna come back to us and say, these are the things we've identified for the task force to work on. You want us to okay that?
We will give some recommendations, but you guys will ultimately make that decision. But we'll come with some sort of a recommendation.
But we'll have
A
to
starting
get it-
point to react to. Yeah.
At the next school board meeting, cause I'm trying to nail down the timeline, cause this is
As
fast.
quickly as we can, as quickly as we can. The goal, yes, but I can't make any promises because I've not had a chance to talk to Nick and Mark yet.
Well, and the bottom line is if we approve this as a board, which is to create a task force, just the creation of the task force
time.
is going to take some time.
Yeah.
I mean, it's going to be setting out.
And we want it to take time,
And
right? We want to be very thoughtful.
We want, we want, this is not has to be done by a certain date.
So that
This-
timeline is irrelevant.
Well, the timeline is the guideposts, as always timelines are. Because ultimately, I believe what we want is for us to do this right.
Yeah.
And take the time that we need to ensure at the outset that we are pulling together a representative task force that this board is comfortable with to be able to do this work on our behalf over the course of the next approximately year, correct?
Correct, correct.
Yeah.
Some may also ask, how do we intend to pay for this fee? We did recently just learn, and Chris will talk a little bit about this later on in the budget evaluation process. We weren't expecting to receive anything. We received an early reading professional development grant for $51,870. So this is a one-time expense. It seems to make sense to utilize those funds to pay for the MD Roffers work with us.
That grant is an early reading grant. Isn't
It's-
supposed to be spent on that?
No, it's not.
No, it was an early literacy reimbursement grant, right, and so we didn't expect to get anything.
No.
Yeah, I applied for it, not anticipating to get anything.
Thanks,
They're
Chris.
one-time funds, we will only get them this year, we won't be eligible to apply next year.
So no strings attached?
No strings attached.
Because we've already done the work, we've done the
But
work,
we've done the
we
work,
paid for it.
and we already paid for
We
it.
did the work and paid for it.
Yeah.
We
Serendipitous,
just wound
right?
up with a reimbursement.
That's right.
Thank God.
I have a question. With the approval of this, are those meetings then open meetings, records, things that we have to be aware of, correct?
Yes, we won't post them per se, but we will put them on the website or wherever we put
So
information.
any information that's talked about,
Yep.
done, would be
Absolutely,
applicable for
the record.
record, okay.
A lot of districts have created like a community task force webpage where they do post meeting notes and documents from the meeting.
Awesome.
Any other questions of you guys from any board members? Okay, hearing none, then I would be looking for a motion to approve the establishment of a 45 to 50 member community task force and to authorize entering into a professional services contract with MD Roffers Consulting not to exceed $52,000 to facilitate the task force process and support facilities, enrollment, and programming planning efforts.
So moved.
Second.
I have a motion and a second. Any discussion on the motion? Or any questions of administration? Why don't we call the roll on this, if we could?
Certainly. Mr. Lepak?
Yes.
Mr. Summers? Yes. Ms. Potter Nelson?
Yes.
Mr. Liebrick?
Yes.
Mr. Pope?
No.
Mr. Kowalski?
Yes.
Ms. Bushman?
Yes.
Ms. Mercer?
Yes.
Ms. Erler.
Yes.
Motion passes.
All right. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Nick. Thank you, Mark.
Look forward to seeing you all.
Thank you very much. We appreciate the confidence.
All right, we will move into our consent agenda, and that includes the minutes of the prior school board meeting of December 8th, the approval of the scheduled monthly bills, and employment recommendations. Do I have a motion?
So moved.
Second.
All right, I have a motion and a second. We will go ahead and call the roll.
Ms. Bushman.
Yes.
Mr. Pope.
Yes.
Ms. Mercer.
Yes.
Mr. Kowalski.
Yes.
Mr. Liebrick.
Yes.
Ms. Potter Nelson.
Yes.
Mr. Summers. Mr. Lepak.
Yes.
And Ms. Erler.
Yes.
Motion carries.
All right, we will move into the business services portion of the agenda, and I will turn it over to my assistant.
All right, so reporting from the January 5th Business Services HR Update Committee meeting. We did have some public commentary at that meeting, similar to the public commentary that we had tonight. Several citizens came in and spoke regarding the voucher disclosure that we'll be discussing shortly. We had Beth give us a yearly turnover report with very good news, I think, in that our turnover has gone down now for the second year in a row. And maintains at a healthy level of turnover. The primary non-retirement reason that folks give in terms of leaving is left for another career. So retirement was the highest percentage of those who chose to leave the district. Leaving for another career was the second, again, often occurring in those first 5 years. In addition, Beth gave us the overall engagement and employee satisfaction numbers that came out there. And engagement remains up with 86% of employees satisfied or highly satisfied with their employment. So that is also good news. We discussed several things that Mike will be putting forth in front of us tonight, or the admins. That includes the property tax bill insert regarding the voucher spending that we will discuss, 10-year capital improvement plan revision, and roof bid. And then lastly, I just want to take a moment again to give kudos to our citizen member Tammy, who is doing a great job at kind of holding us to account and acting as a forensic accountant in those meetings.
She is an accountant too, so yeah, good thing, right? Yeah.
Thank you, Marnie. So at this time, I'm gonna ask our auditor, Amber Danielski, to come forward. She is going to give us 2 reports tonight. She's gonna give us our annual financial audit report and then the audit report from PODS. Mike, as I indicated earlier, is not feeling well. He is on screen. He will be available to answer any questions as well. So with that, Amber.
Good evening. So I'm going to start, as Corey mentioned, to start with going over the main district audit first. And so, similar to years past, I'm going to go through various pages, but then if you have any questions as I do go along, please just pause and make me answer them right as we go. So just past the table of contents is the independent auditor's report. This starts off with, first things first, the audit opinion, which is, top thing we always want to know. So in our opinion, the financial statements that we audited as of June 30th, 2025 present fairly the financial position of the district, which quote unquote is a clean audit opinion, which is what the district strives for. In doing our audit, we follow generally accepted auditing standards, government auditing standards, and then because the district spends more than $750,000 of federal funds, we follow the single audit as well. 24-25 is actually the last year the single audit threshold was $750,000. It actually moves up to $1 million for the 25-26 year. So that means you're still gonna have the single audit, but it is still something that changes, which actually then changes the thresholds at which we pick programs to look at as well. So different things that come through. One thing that was different for 24-25 was there was a new accounting standard. As I've talked in the past few years, there's been a couple of new ones over the last few years. And this one is talking about compensated absences. It's GASB Statement 101. So prior to this rule, some districts and some governments may have only picked up a liability for those retirement payouts, for the sick leave or for vacation.
or only if you got it at retirement kind of thing. It never considered, oh, hey, somebody might have 200 hours that they might actually have to use because they actually get sick. And then ultimately it does get paid out, yes, through salary that way, but it still gets paid out. And because it's accrued based on previous year's service, it needs to be picked up and reported. So that was a change for all the governments that went through. And the result of that change added, I apologize, I had my page noted here, increased your liability by $1.4 million for picking up that. Plus it also had to pick up the FICA portion, payroll taxes added onto it. Because before, the standard didn't say anything about whether or not you had to pick up that portion or not. It was silent. So some governments did, some governments didn't. So basically the standard wanted to get everybody on the same playing field. So that's what that emphasis of matter paragraph in the audit opinion is all about. These audit opinion letters won't always have that paragraph in there. It's usually if there's something significant enough that, hey, this is a big change, the board needs to know about it. The rest of the letter is pretty standard. It requires to discuss different things that the management's responsible for and then what we do from the audit perspective and just different reports that we go over with it. But overall, as I said before, it was a clean audit opinion, which is what the district strives for. Moving then to some financial numbers, if you go to page 16. So page 16 is your balance sheet at year end. And I'm going to focus primarily on the general fund, since that's your main fund of operations. For financial statement purposes, this includes Fund 10 and Fund 27. DPI obviously requires you to keep 27 separate, but financial statement purposes says it's got to be combined. So when you're looking at those numbers compared to maybe Skyward reports you may have gotten, that's where the difference comes in. So your general fund had just under $36 million of total assets at the end of the year, $24 million in cash, and $10.5 million in taxes receivable. Now that taxes receivable came in August, so then it was very liquid, moved right into your cash balance at that time. Very consistent with what we see with districts throughout the state. Your total liabilities were just about $16.7 million. The majority in that accrued and other current liabilities section. That's going to be your summer payrolls and related benefits for the most part. What makes up that amount. So obviously it'll have decreased as those summer payrolls got paid out in July and August. Again, very consistent with what other districts have. The remaining balance of that is your fund balance. So in total, the general fund balance was $19.3 million at the end of the year. And there's various categories in there. Your non-spendable category, this is the amount that was prepaid for next year. So insurance premiums, different things like that were prepaid for next year. The restricted category is when a third party gives you funds and says you can only spend it on X and Y. So that's what that number is. The committed funds is when the board itself makes a resolution that says we're going to put money aside for this project. So this amount here, this is the playground matching thing with the PTAs. That's what that amount is. The remaining balance unassigned is amounts that are available for cash flow purposes, covering budget deficits the next year, if all of a sudden some expense pops up or whatever that ends up being. One area that we always look at when it comes to that unassigned fund balance is we look at a ratio of that amount to expenditures. Just because you don't get your state aids for so long, you don't get your taxes for so long, you got to have that cash flow balance there. So right now that amount was 16% of the 24-25 expenditures. We always usually recommend somewhere between 15 and 25%. Every district's a little different because of the timing of your own cash flows and different things. So, every district then sets its own policy. You guys have set your policy at 20% of next year's budget. And right now, so then this 18 million is actually 13% of the next year budget. So a little bit, it's obviously below what your targeted is, but I think the board's well aware of that and is making steps with it. When you do fall down like that, that's when you have to do that short-term borrowing. And so it's obviously just something you look into, you watch, because obviously when you short-term borrow, you incur other interest costs that you wouldn't have if you didn't have to short-term borrow. And even though we look at in industry, say 15 to 20%, 15 to 25%, we have some districts that keep it as low as 5%. They just know they short-term borrow way more. So it's that cost-benefit line that you watch to determine as you set your budgets, as you're setting, watching your cash flows and timing of different things to watch to determine where you really want that set. Any questions on that? The next big fund here, just wanted to point out, is your long-term capital improvements fund. You got just about $4.9 million set aside. That's at Fund 46 that DPI allowed you to set aside, create and set up. And basically, you can only use that funds on the stuff that's in your 10-year capital improvement plan. But you've been able to put aside money the past years to keep growing that balance. The other governmental funds are your donations, food service, debt service, all of them are smaller, and because they're smaller, we don't have to do as much extensive work on them. And that's why they get shown in the one column. If you move to page 19, this is your income statement, the bottom part of your income statement. I just want to kind of just focus a little bit on the overall result. So if you go to that bottom part of general fund, it says your net change in fund balance was $1,339,000. So obviously you were able to have more revenues or have less expenditures that came in and allowed you to increase your fund balance. The budget to actual statements in the back will show you more detailed levels of which categories of expenses or which categories of revenues came up or down. Primarily, your budget came in under on the expense side that allowed you to increase that fund balance. Your long-term capital improvement fund, though, you did spend down $1.2 million of your fund balance on projects, which again is kind of what it's meant for and allows you to give you that flexibility in terms of spending it down. Any questions on the financial numbers?
Can I ask right now? So on the previous page on 16, that is the number we've talked about a lot, right? 18,300,000 something that we want to be at 20%. I always thought it was hovering at about like 18 or 19, but you're saying it's only 13.
13% of next year's budget.
13% of next
Next year's budget, because that's how your policy is written, is of subsequent year budget.
So if we didn't do anything to it, it would be 13% next year. But we're planning on doing on page 19, the 1.339.
That added to it to get you to that 1.8, or to get you to the 18.3.
Oh, that's already been added in.
That's already been added in.
All right, thank you.
Moving then way towards the back to page 76. This is a summary of auditors' results. This table gets included when you have basically single audit stuff, but I think it's a nice one-page summary to say, okay, yes, you had for your financial statements right there at the top, unmodified audit opinion. And then the next part, internal control over financial reporting. Were there any material weaknesses identified? No. Were there significant deficiencies identified? Yes. And then were there non-compliance material to the financial statements? Noted. No. The significant deficiency that's noted, which is in more detail in the following pages, is the finding about financial statement preparation. So, we've talked about this in the past. Just for cost benefit purposes, most districts, like in pretty much all my districts that I work on every year, hire their auditors to prepare this document. Out of the 80 some pages that are in here, the auditor is responsible for about 15 of it. The rest of it is to be prepared by management. But again, for cost benefit purposes, most districts outsource that to their auditors, because you won't want you have your main finance department take 40 to 50 hours to compile everything in here. And so it's just important to understand that yes, this is a deficiency because it's outsourced, because there could be things that are just slightly missed that aren't material just because, we slightly updated in one little policy or something that gets put there. But Mike and Jackie review the documents before we final print these all, so there is that one level of review. And also just this meeting, having you ask questions and review things also plays into offsetting that report and that finding. Most of my districts have that finding, so it's not unusual. DPI is aware of it. When they reach out and ask you what you're doing about it, you just explain what you're doing by having us present at the meeting and they ask questions. So that answers that part of the basic financial statements. For your federal awards, similar questions. Internal control over major programs, were material weaknesses identified? We didn't have any in what we tested. Were there significant deficiencies identified? Yes, we had one. When it comes to buying and doing contracts under grants, if things cross the $25,000 threshold, you have to look and make sure that they're not on a list that says they can't get be paid with federal funding. While the district did it, it didn't document that it did it before the contract was signed. So it's a little minor thing that's an easy fix. Just, I've even told people, if you print it and use it electronically, because then at least you have the file modified date in the computer. If you want to physically print it, change it so your header has the browser date on it. Simple things to just put in the file. So nothing overly significant, nothing that results in a question cost or anything, but just something to enhance your internal controls on. And this year we specifically tested the special education cluster. We only have to test, in this year we only have to test 20% of your total federal expenditures, so that meant we only have to test one program. Depending on how much you spend and what your risk status is, sometimes we test 20%, sometimes we test 40%. And that's where the difference comes in. Then on page 77, we do the same analysis but for your state funds, because DPI wants us to test programs in addition to what the federal government gave you. So this year, both, and consistent with prior years, no internal control findings for the state programs, unmodified opinion, and nothing that we had to report to the state. We primarily tested just your equalized data this year. It gave us enough coverage, but again, that also fluctuates where DPI might say you have to test certain things every once in a while. But overall, that was the results of the district's overall financial statement audit. Any questions on that? Okay. Moving then briefly to the PODS audit. I'm not going to go overly involved in this one. This audit was only required because of the grant funding that PODS received. This is the last year of it. So the PODS won't receive a separate audit again until they get awarded another expansion grant from DPI, if and when they do. So we focus solely on the costs coded to the PODS location. And basically DPI requires us to just do a test of expenditures, and then capital assets that were purchased with the grant get picked up in here. Overall, we had no issues with that. We were able to reach out and read the PODS governance meetings or minutes and all that kind of stuff and got through everything. And again, this one is that same finding and preparation of financial statements. Overall, it was very, very, very clean. We were able to work through everything. And again, it's the last year of that audit because the last year of the grant funding. And if and when more funding comes, we're available to do that audit as well. We do it a lot of times just in September after we've done the main district audit, because we've seen so much of it that we know it takes a little less to get the charter school audit done. And with that, I'll open it up for any other questions.
Board members have any questions on either of the audits? All right.
Thank you. Have a good night.
Thank you. Thank you. So we'll be looking at two separate motions. The first motion would be to accept the 2024-25 annual financial report.
Second.
I have a motion and a second. Any questions or discussion on that? All those in favor with aye?
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed with nay? Motion carries. I am looking for a motion to accept the 24-25 PODS annual financial report.
Second.
I have a motion and a second. Any discussion or questions? Hearing none. All those in favor with aye?
Aye.
Any opposed with nay? Motion carries.
Okay, we're gonna jump into the 10-year capital improvement plan revision. So Mike, are you available to talk about this, or do you want me to?
No, I can go through it.
Okay.
Hopefully everybody can see and hear me. I'm bringing this to the board sooner than what we brought when we brought it last year. And the reason that we're doing that is because a lot of the projects that we want to work on, we work on over the summer. And so we need time to secure contractors. And then also I'm bringing it to you early because all the projects that we had for this current fiscal year are finished. So that allows me to get this to you a little bit quicker. And we do not have any more projects done for this fiscal year. So in the summary, last year's projects, we had budgeted $2,014,900. But we spent just a little bit less than that on those projects, about just a little bit under of about 1.9 million. Those were projects replacing roof sections at Ben Franklin, updating PA systems at Ben Franklin, Jefferson, and Madison, and then replacing roof sections at McKinley, and the big project of resurfacing the tennis courts at Spash. So those are the projects that we were able to complete in this 10-year capital improvement plan. And before I go any further, I should mention that these projects are financed through Fund 46. So Amber talked a little bit about that in her audit report. That's really a fund that we use to kind of save money from year to year for projects like this. Okay, so one of the things that I wanted to mention in here is that a lot of times we are doing these projects over the summer. And because we're doing them over the summer, we often have to start them in June, which is a little bit of an issue since the fiscal year ends June 30th and the new fiscal year begins July 1st. So in certain cases, in order to get projects finished when we need them to be finished, we have to start them in the prior fiscal year. And so we did that with the tennis courts. So I want to point that out to you so you're aware of it. The total amount spent, the 1.9 million, that includes any expenditures that actually occurred in the prior year. Okay, so that's what gets a little tricky. When we start in June, we have to record those expenses to the prior year, even though we budgeted it for the next fiscal year. And I just want to make you guys aware of that because that's going to happen from time to time. And it's probably going to happen this summer with our new projects if you guys approve them. Okay, so for our new projects, we are looking at our, on the table, that fiscal year 2027 column. And those new projects are roofing work at Spash and then 3 PA systems. And those PA systems are at Kennedy, Plover, Whiting, and Washington. And the total cost for those projects is $2,520,900. That 2027 column, those are the only ones that we're committing to. All of the other projects in other years, like 2028 and beyond, those are projects that we would like to do at some point and in some cases need to do, but whether we do them or not depends on if we have the funds to do it. And it also depends on priorities, and priorities change so they can shift from one year to the next. So I just want to make you aware of that. And then I also, just a little bit more on Fund 46. The way we build Fund 46 is at the end of every year, if there's money remaining in Fund 10, we have the option to either put it to fund balance or to put it into Fund 46. And when we put it in Fund 46, it does get recorded as an aidable expense. So there's some advantages to doing that. It also helps build this fund. Are you guys hearing me okay?
Yep, sounds great, Mike.
Okay, all right, thanks. So we're recommending those 4 projects, the 3 PA systems and the roof at Spash. The roof at Spash desperately needs to be done, by the way. And that is for $2,520,900.
So basically,
And I can
Mike, there's 3 different motions, correct? Number 1, to approve the 10-year plan, and then number 2, to accept the bid for the Spash roof, and then the third motion is to allow us to move forward with getting bids for those 3 PA systems and then get the work started as soon as we can.
Yeah, I put them as 3 different agenda items, so I don't know if we have to go one at a time
Yep,
for that, or if I can do them all at once.
we'll do one at a time.
Yeah, we'll go ahead and do one at a time, Mike. So right now, we are looking for a motion to approve the revised 10-year capital improvement plan as presented.
So moved.
Second.
I have a motion and a second. Any discussion on that motion? All those in favor with aye.
Aye.
Any opposed with nay? Motion carries. And do you wanna talk about the Spash roof bid, Mike?
Yeah, so this was in the capital improvement plan for a different year. We moved it to the current year. And because I had it in the plan in a prior year, we did go out to RFP to get some bids, hoping that you guys would approve it for this year. And since you have, I can now take those bids to you to get approval before we, accept any of them. And what we did is we looked at 3 different roof types. The type in the middle, if you look at that table, the roof type in the middle is a KEE membrane roof. And I do have Chris here if you do have any questions on specifics on that. He knows more about it than I do. But that is a pretty high quality roof with a 30-year warranty, where the other roof types only have a 20-year warranty. And so we did a little checking from the committee meeting. People asked about insurance and how that would impact our rates. I did check with our insurance brokers or reps, and they did get back to me, and they did tell me that a longer warranty roof usually has a better impact on rates in the long term. So there's some advantages that way, and then just the fact that it's a better quality roof. And what we were looking at is Maurer Roofing Company choosing that KE membrane roof, Maurer Roofing Company, for $1,920,900. That's, to us, we feel is probably the best deal. It's actually cheaper than some of the bids for a lower quality roof. And it gets us that extra 10 years of warranty. So that's our recommendation to the board for that KE membrane roof by Maurer Roofing for $1,920,900.
I have a question.
Yep.
Can you tell us why they're so much cheaper, like $170,000 cheaper in comparison to the other companies?
Come on up.
Oh, come on up.
Yeah.
Probably a variety of reasons. That some you don't know, some you guess, speculate on, as one wants to work, wasn't. Biggest thing is Maurer Roofing is out of Marshfield. They do a lot of our roofs and have in the past. I know when I was at Boston School, same thing. A lot of times want to keep their guys local, so they'll be able to say, all right, if I have this and bid it early, I can put that our guys can stay local, they're happy with their family, they like doing business here. Plus they work a little more with that style of roof, kind of like the tennis courts, where I expected a different company to have a higher bid, knowing that they've done it more times. They know what the true cost is versus, I'm guessing this one. I know there was a bid on this one that really surprised me, being as skewed high, like, how did they miss that so far? And it's one of those reasons come up.
Any other questions? Jim?
What exactly is the warranty mean? Now, I deal with my own home, and you get a warranty from a roofer. And sometimes I've heard of full replacement value after so many years, some of it's prorated over time. You get incidents of leakage. I know on those flat roofs, it happens all the time.
All the time. And it's the reality of it. So it's very hard to understand. It's like, I got a 20-year roof and it leaked after, I got a brand new roof that leaks in 1 year. Guess what a flat roof does? And they leak one day, 2 days later they don't.
So what do they cover when they say this?
All repairs. So it's, if I have a leak in a roof, I simply do a warranty claim through Tremco, which is the parent company. They come out and send a repair crew and repair it. It's easy. I've never had them do anything more than come to repair it, get it done. But they also build up more credit. Say probably at year 20, they might look at the condition roof and say, well, this one's pretty good, but if we recoil with it, we can add another 10-year warranty to it, depending on how it goes. But it's just full repairs on it. I've never had it where a roof completely failed and say, all right, we replaced the whole thing. It's just sections do it and they repair it, because the underneath is where most of your cost is on the installation and all the other stuff. It's just a thin membrane on top. If they had to repair it, thinking back, and I'd have to double check it, but I think Professional Building Downtown had this, where Tremco is the master company that went in, had a membrane on the top that was just faulty, so they replaced the whole thing under warranty. So odds are that's probably what they would do if they have a faulty membrane.
Any other questions about the bid?
Maurer is out of
Marshfield.
That would be probably the closest roofing company compared to the other.
Commercial is local here, yeah, but, yep. They did, part of it in Franklin last year. Yeah, I was surprised, I thought they would be lower, but that's just what it is, it's, they might have a full schedule and say, hey, if you want us to come, there's a lot of.
That's a lot of money.
Maybe they have a lot of jobs.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, that's a big, half, that's a lot,
How
you're
much
right.
on this we'll throw, you know, so.
I don't really want the job, so I'm gonna throw a huge number out there, if I get it, it's worth my while.
You're right.
Exactly.
Right.
It'll pay for it.
Mhm.
Chris, could you remind me what section of SPASH you're?
Yeah, so this is the auditorium, the next section down, which just kind of covers the library in that area. So it's probably about, I don't know if it's quite half the building. Most of the building is covered from 2019. We put all new roof on the sections, which then goes out to, give it 20 years off, that's what, 39. But those two sections, reason we want to do both, I'd like to split it over 2 years. The lower part of the library's got more leaks and it's end of life. The higher part, if I want to do that, I've got to do staging on the lower part. If I got a brand new roof down there, you damage it, so it's like, so we're gonna do them all in one shot. Probably in reality, it saves you in the long term, because I've not seen costs go down yet. So when they do, I'll let you know.
Any further questions? Then I'm looking for a motion to approve the KEE membrane roof to be installed at SPASH by Mauer Roofing for $1,920,900.
So moved.
Second.
I have a motion and a second. Any discussion or questions?
Thank you, Chris.
All those in favor with aye?
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed with nay? That motion carries. Okay, and then the final item, Mike?
Yeah, so that leaves the last three projects that we just approved in the 10-year capital improvement plan, and those are the PA systems. And we'd like to get those going as quickly as possible, which means we have to get an RFP out, which we have ready to go, we just have to send it out. And we want to start getting bids for those projects so we can move forward and also get those done over the summer months. And so what we're asking the board for those three PA systems, since we've approved them now in the plan, and to avoid any kind of delays, we just want to be able to go out and get some quotes, select our, make our selections, and then implement it and start it going without having to come back to the board for approval. And what would happen is if we ended up, let's say, not being able to get quotes within the dollar amount that we have listed, the $200,000 per building, then we would come back to the board. But if we're able to stay within that dollar amount, we'd like to just move forward with that to get things moving forward. And so that's what we're asking.
So the
Any questions on that?
The motion doesn't reflect the cap, I guess, and I don't think that you're gonna go over it or, you know, do anything untowards, but I feel like it should reflect that cap in it.
That can be added into the
We
motion.
can modify the motion.
Good point. Any questions at all about going out for bid, allowing it to go out for bid? Okay, so then I'll be looking for a motion to approve administration securing final quotation, beginning vendor selection, and beginning work on the three approved fiscal year 2027 10-year capital improvement plan PA system projects at Washington Kennedy and Clover Whiting without the need for further approval from the board, so long as the projects are within the cap that is shown in the capital improvement plan.
So moved.
I have a motion.
Second.
All right, I have a motion and a second. Any questions on that motion? Hearing none, all in favor with aye?
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed with nay? Motion carries. That brings us to the property tax bill insert.
Sure, so I'll start and then I'm gonna turn it over to Mike. So last month, the board reviewed a proposed resolution and an FAQ that related to providing greater clarity to our taxpayers regarding our school levy and the portion that supports public schools and the portion that supports the Wisconsin Parental Choice Program or the voucher school program. At that time, the board decided to table that agenda item, ask for us to go back and bring it through committee and then bring it back to the board at this meeting. So following the committee input as well as input from individual board members that reached out, we decided to get rid of the resolution, we decided to get rid of the FAQ, and instead we came up with an insert, and this would be exactly what we would be asking the municipalities to put in their tax bills. So I'm gonna ask Mike to kind of go through it and share exactly what's on this form. And then the ask for you is to allow us to go ahead and start communicating with those municipalities.
Corey, could we put that up there for everyone to,
We sure can.
I think, just so everyone can see what we're looking at?
Okay, I'm gonna read through the background and summary, and then I'll go through the insert itself. So just under the current state funding structure, the Wisconsin Parental Choice Program is funded in part through deductions from local school district equalized aid. The reduction is offset through an increase in the district's local property tax levy. For the 2025-26 fiscal year, the private school voucher levy totaled $3.79 million. This represents 7.6% of the total levy and is equal to an estimated tax impact of 52 cents per $1,000 of equalized property value. The Stevens Point Area Public School District would like to ask municipalities to include the cost of the locally funded portion of the private school voucher program as an insert with the property tax bills. The Business Services Human Resources Committee reviewed, discussed, and provided input on the exact document that will be shared with each municipality. Several Wisconsin communities have taken similar steps to increase transparency and help residents understand how state funding formulas shape the school portion of the property taxes. The purpose is to promote transparency, accuracy, and community understanding. The district would request municipalities to include the insert in the annual property tax bill. If approved, administration would be in contact with the city of Stevens Point, the village of Plover, and all relevant town boards. Okay, so the insert itself, we did make some changes, as Corey pointed out, when we took it to committee. And so what I thought I would do is just kind of highlight the changes. And maybe I'll just read through that too. That way we're going through it all. So it starts out with property tax bills often raise questions about how schools are funded and what factors influence school tax portion of a community member's bill. The Stevens Point Area Public School District serves students and families across the community, providing learning opportunities from early childhood through high school. The district is committed to responsible stewardship of public resources while supporting high-quality instruction, safe learning environments, and the day-to-day operations that allow schools to serve students every day. So that language may get resized if we need to, depending on the cost of making the insert and the size that the insert has to be. Okay, how we approach financial stewardship. Long-term financial planning and forecasting, regular review of spending and efficiencies, balancing fiscal responsibility with student learning, safety, and operations. And then the part that's in gray, that's the table. And that table is currently using current information. So if we were to put that in the tax bill this year, which we're not, but if it would have went out this year, those would have been the numbers that would have went in there. So what goes out next year, if this gets approved and municipalities agree to this, will be different. It'll be based on what those numbers are at that time. We did make a few changes there based on the committee's recommendations. So in that top column where we have percent change, we added year over year. We thought that would take away some confusion there, or the committee did. In the school levy row, under each column, we added percentages. So for 24-25, for school levy, it was 92.3% of the total levy for that year. And the voucher levy was 7.7% of the total levy, making the bottom, the last total levy row at 100%. So we added those also to try to provide clarification. And then the next part, what the school board and district do, control. So what we do control, we control the approval of the annual school district budget, decisions related to voter approved referendums, long-term planning for facilities, staffing and operations. And then we added a committee's recommendation, which was a really good recommendation, an ongoing review of budgets and programs, because we are doing that and we're very actively doing that. So that was added. And then what the school board and district do not control, state funding formulas and per pupil aid amounts, revenue limits set in state law, inflation-driven cost increases, and state policy decisions that impact local school funding. So that's the insert that we are asking you to approve, to ask municipalities. So then there'd be a separate ask of municipalities to put that in with their property tax bills. And I'm happy to take questions.
I have a couple questions, Mike. So first of all, thank you. There's been so many conversations and revisions and additions, and I think this final draft reflects all of that feedback, and I think we landed in a really good place. Did we identify the estimated cost for print?
We did. Sarah is here also to answer questions, but we did receive 2 different quotes, and it would be our recommendation to go with UNS for $771.99. That would be a black and white insert. If we wanted to do a color insert, it would probably be about $300 more.
Yeah.
And just to include then, that would be 2,100 or 21,000 pieces. They would print, cut, prep, bundle, package, and deliver to each municipality. So it's everything.
Okay, thank you. Second question is, given municipalities do not move forward in this direction, where are we housing the communication so all of our residents and taxpayers can have the information?
Sure. So if a municipality decides not to, we did think of a backup plan. And here are some things that we talked about. We would continue to ask annually. So they may say no one year, but may choose to do it another year. If they don't include it in the tax bill, we would ask that they just have them available, because a lot of people still do go in and take their payments into their municipality. So we would just have them available if they decided to take one at that time. We would include the information on our website and in other appropriate documents that we send out. We would continue to communicate this information annually, because we feel like over time, it builds understanding with folks. We would engage with key stakeholders. I mean, I'm on several community boards. We've got other connections within the community. We could talk about it with those individuals. Possible media release or other community outreach. And anything else that would come up that we haven't thought about initially. So we do have some plans in place, and hopefully most of them will decide to put it in.
Thank you.
Yeah.
I have some questions. So one, I know that this is still the draft. I think there should be just a smidge more clarity, so rather than saying the school levy, say like the Stevens Point School District levy rather than the school levy. I think the more we can qualify, and then rather than saying voucher, the Wisconsin Parental Choice Program rather than the voucher, because the technical name is the Wisconsin Parental Choice Program and what that's supporting. And then the other thing would be the dollar amount above the percentages. So 16.61. So then saying that's an increase of whatever that is, 6,800,000 and 900 and some thousand.
Oh, so you're saying.
So we're consistent all the
So
way
we're
across.
consistent all the way
Yeah,
across. Because right now it's not.
Yeah, that's a good point.
Because right now it just says 16, but what's that increase? That increase is the 6 million or whatever that is. I just think that it's consistent all the way across. It's also how a tax bill reads. It always reads a percentage and the dollar Those are two pieces. I do think though, as I spoke at the last board meeting, the Q&A that previously came out, there's been a particular taste of bias. And I know that Ms. Colby brought up a conflict of interest. There is no conflict of interest. While I have founded a choice school, I do not benefit from putting this in a tax bill. There is no benefit, therefore there's no conflict of interest. I know the laws, I know the requirements, the options, so there is no conflict of interest in this. And in fact, I can speak more clearly to that. Moreover, having the inclusion of varied solutions, varied standards, more opinions is kind of what makes this board work. And so because of the previous document, there's a lot of bad taste on behalf of those families. They felt targeted with that. And because of that, this property tax bill does still have a sour taste in families' mouths. So my recommendation would be to change those few things to further clarify. So Stevens Point School District levy, WPCP, SNSP levy, and then the dollar amount above the percent to keep it consistent all the way across.
My only concern, Alex, with the WPCP, acronyms, they don't understand. I think we would have to spell that out.
Okay.
But I think people do refer to them as vouchers. The one thing, I'm gonna have to talk to Sarah about this, I think are already gonna have to cut down the amount of verbiage that we have in here, so if we're gonna add even more, I think other things may have to go. So, I don't know, I guess I'm interested in what the rest of the board feels about those two recommendations.
I do think it adds clarity to say Stevens Point Stevens Point District levy versus school levy, because some people, people don't sit close to this, right? They might think, is it a school levy? Is it the district levy? It just adds clarity. That's always a good thing. The Wisconsin parental choice, but that is what it is. I know vouchers also confuse people. Like, what is a voucher? Who gets a voucher? If you call out the program, they can go research and they can look into it. That's just my recommendation.
Disagree with that. I think that it's commonly known as the voucher program. And
It's
to
not.
put it as the Wisconsin actually confuses it. The Wisconsin choice, because frankly, I didn't know it was Wisconsin choice until the representative talked about it here today. Because I commonly think of it as a voucher program.
In state law, it is Wisconsin parental
And
choice.
Yeah,
that's
we're
what
calling it
people
what it is.
And I
Yeah.
understand that now, but it was an education process. I think it's better to be vouchers.
If we're gonna put it in there, I would say then we put voucher in parentheses or something
Yeah,
to
I
that
like
one,
that.
because it
I think that's
does,
a good-
I think the common vernacular that people understand is voucher program. I do agree with the inclusion of the amount, in addition to the percentage in all three columns, that's a good call out.
Do you have a comment on this conversation, Dee? Because otherwise I just wanna make one comment.
Go ahead.
The reality is, we're going to be providing this, we're going to be asking municipalities for their permission to insert it. There is the potential that the municipalities will say, yeah, we will, but we want you to change a couple things here and there. So, ultimately, I think we can approve tonight this, and then I think it might make sense prior to next year, when this is actually happening, that it is brought back to us and that we are able to approve that final language based on, again, the space considerations and potentially if a municipality wanted to make some changes. So I guess what I would say is tonight, I'm in support of those changes, but I do think because this is the first year and, the municipalities ultimately are in charge of what they choose to provide to each of their residents. So, I guess I'm saying in the spirit of that, can we, make a decision tonight about kind of what we're authorizing
To begin the
be
conversations.
proposed. And then it could come back next year
this
just,
final form.
yeah, just for us to approve it prior to the time that it's going out to the municipalities. Plus, that allows us to inform ourselves about what's on the tax bill in case we have questions. And it also allows us a chance to inform the whole community, even those municipalities, residents in those municipalities that might not have chosen to insert it in the first year.
Jean?
First of all, a little bit about the arrangement. If I'm a voter or somebody walking in, I'm looking at the gray stuff right now, and I'm not really looking at anything else. And I'm thinking, average voter is gonna end up in the garbage after I look at it, and I'm looking at the gray grid. If we can figure out how to present this, because people aren't gonna sit down and, I shouldn't say that. Most people are not gonna read this whole thing, but when I picked it up, I was immediately drawn to this grid. And I was gonna look at that, cause it's a little easier to look at the numbers, maybe don't have a lot of time, but I wanna look at this. The rest of it to me is kinda ancillary, cause people generally are not gonna read the details. So if we could rearrange this somehow to present the information we want, that we know people are gonna look at.
It's the gray box.
Well, and it's
Well,
it's
but
removing.
there's other stuff there that's just as important. For instance, after all, we are the public school board. And we seem to be tiptoeing around this. We don't want to offend the voucher schools. They have boards. They have people to advocate for them. We should advocate for the public school. So I wouldn't be afraid of stepping on toes. For instance, underneath, now that I said nobody would read it, I'm gonna read it. Underneath what the school board and district do control, approval of the annual school district budget. We control the public school budget. We don't control voucher school budgets. Plus, underneath what the school board and district do not control, I think it's kind of disguised under the last one, state policy decisions that impact local school funding. Am I right in thinking that we are now under a kind of a control for the vouchers? And next year that control goes off for the number of vouchers? That there is no control next year? I think somebody said. Yeah, there's no cap. So we don't know.
But that's only for enrollment, right? So.
But we don't know. It could skyrocket. It could go away.
No, there are two school districts in the state that have reached cap.
Yeah.
Just two.
And after next year,
But
there is no
nothing's gonna
cap.
change.
But there is no cap.
But there's no change.
Of
I will
course there's
say,
a change.
G,
If there's
G,
no
I can
cap.
add what Mike has told me before, because we had long conversations about this. We are well under the cap. And so the likelihood that we approach that cap is extremely unlikely. Now, income limits would be a different story, but we're only talking about the actual cap on the programs. They don't think it is likely that we are going to approach that cap.
But people should know the caps are off. There was a control before, there's not gonna be
But that's not
control.
full.
But it's a different, that's the WASB resolution, that's not this.
I get the feeling we're tiptoeing around this. We're a public school board, we should be operating in the, for the public school. If voucher schools do not like this or feel offended or we're stepping on their toes, they have
it's
school
also your
boards to
constituency.
advocate for them.
People are still in this.
Oh, you're on the public school.
I'm going to exercise the reality that we are straying from the motion and the substance that is in front of us. All right, we are not here to talk about whether or not, what our personal feelings.
Well, I don't
No, but
I don't
what we
agree.
are-
We're talking
what
about
we are-
what's on
No,
here.
what we are focused on is what is on here, but not,
That's what I was focused on.
well, but it's straight. So I'm asking that what you're recommending, G, is that we move the box up to the top?
No, I'm recommending that the box contain information, it could contain a little bit more information, not much, because people aren't gonna read a lot of detail. But it's the part people will see, and I think we should take more time to look at that. And I do agree with Alex's suggestion that we put in the money amounts across there, because that looks like it should be in the last. But it's, you could put public school levy or whatever.
School district levy.
To differentiate between school and voucher. I don't think there's much of a difference.
That's out, yeah.
No, he said parental choice.
Vouchers in parentheses.
Yeah, I'm talking about the school levy. Could say
Stevens Point.
public school levy.
Right. Yep. Yes, yes, that's what Alex said.
I do think you may bring up a good point. That top part, if you could go up, that red box, I almost say nix it. I mean, like, let's get, okay, well, I mean, no one is going to take time, like, okay, and I mean, yes, we do provide quality and they wanna know how this is impacting their bill, and I think where it gets to how we approach and all the way down, I like that. I mean, because
Yeah, you could do that in one sentence, that top part, just to say what this is. You're right, you could eliminate, because it says it at the top.
Yeah.
Property tax.
And just because I was asked this based on this, once again, this is a net zero impact to the Stevens Point School District budget. So it doesn't impact the school district budget because someone's like, well, they don't understand what the word levy means. So they think it's the district budget. That is not the case. A levy is the tax dollars that are being asked. So I was asked that a few times because they didn't understand what the word levy was.
That's a good point.
And so they're like, what is the levy? Is that the school district budget? Why is it so much of the budget being given? And I said, it's not the budget, it's the amount of dollars being taxed to the local taxpayers. So I don't know if there's a way to define levy. I don't know that, but that was a question that someone had. They're like, well, the word levy was confusing because we all understand what the word levy means, but they're like, well, what is a levy? Levy is what.
I've talked to Tom Owens hours and hours and hours, and I still couldn't give you a full definition of a levy.
In a way, this actually helps to solve that. Because what this will show taxpayers is the dollar amount being levied for the Stevens Point area public schools and the dollar amount being levied for those schools. And so it currently, the bill is, our bills are misleading because the amount that's on the bill indicates that it's all going to the local Stevens Point area public schools. So again, I think this may help to clarify to members of the community that this is the amount that is going to the public schools with the levy, and then this is amount for the private schools that is going to the levy. And based on state law, the way the legislature and their infinite wisdom set it up, the public school district is required to levy the total amount.
I hear you though, Alex. I think if we get rid of that verbiage at the top, we might be able to have some space to define what levy means.
Levy is, because
the sentences you just said summed it up perfectly. Why couldn't we just write those sentences in there?
Meg, say it again.
That's recorded.
If that was there, I would read that. And if that was the only thing there, that would be fine. Can we say that this needs work? It's not going out this week?
No. This is just the general draft. What you're doing is allowing us to go and speak to municipalities to see if they would consider putting it into their bills. If they give us feedback, like Meg said, we'll bring this back next year and have you take a look at the final draft before it goes to print.
Get it as close as to what we want it to.
Yes.
Incorporating
And
the
please,
suggestions.
if you have any other
Yeah, all of us
ideas or thoughts, reach out and let us know.
I'm glad you brought up the top box, because when you said it was, some parts were wordy, I was like, if I was turning that into an English teacher, they would have sent that back to you, or it need to be way more concise. I was hearing Mrs. Young's voice in the background as I read it. The other thing is, we do have, I expect that, like, for instance, you send this to the city of Stevens Point, and the makeup of the alders there, this is gonna be, yep, they're gonna put it in, no questions asked. Well, what, and I get there may be some that don't. My question, how does it handled in say town Stockton, where we have kids that are here, kids that are in, or some that might be in Marshall.
Oh, that's
Right.
That are split, and are we asking them to sort through that?
It already is.
It kinda
It
is.
kinda is already.
We'd have to sit down with them and kind of figure out what the logistics would be with each. I'm sure there's gonna be nuances with every single municipality.
Okay, all right. So I am looking for a motion to authorize administration to request municipalities include an insert with property tax bills that identifies the portion of the levy supporting public schools and the portion of the levy supporting the private school voucher program, as discussed.
So
Oh,
moved.
as discussed.
So moved.
Second.
All right, I have a motion and a second. Any further discussion?
I will once again say this still feels like a school choice versus public school fight. And I think a lot of that was because of the last document. So I just want that noted that it still feels contentious to me.
So if we are to vote on this, that means we're gonna work on this before they see it? Or we're just gonna go
No.
ask them and then work on it?
We'll ask them,
If they
show them
will.
what we have, ask if they have
With
any.
the revisions.
With the revisions.
Yeah.
that we
Well,
discussed
but I'd
here.
like to see the revisions before we ask them. I mean, if we're gonna go to them with a document and say, would you put this in your tax bill next year? I would like to see it.
That's what we discussed. So Corey's going to provide.
No, you just said we're gonna go ask them.
sample.
The motion says we're gonna
That's the
ask
sample.
them.
Correct, but Corey indicated that they will make the changes with respect to highlighting that it's Stevens Point Area Public Schools and
WPCP, SNSD.
WCP, the parentheses
The discussed
voucher. They'll
revisions.
put the dollar amounts in, and then prior to sending it out next year, they will bring back the final wording for our approval based on feedback that they've received
Well,
from municipalities.
That's gonna have to happen before next year. I mean, you've got to
Well, we
talk to
have-
them.
The
We
tax
have
bills
months.
aren't gonna go out until next.
Yeah, but it's gonna be a process. You're gonna have to
Well,
refine it.
And it's gonna take a lot of time to connect with those.
So we're not gonna
municipalities.
just wait till next year and bop it out. It's gonna,
Correct.
we've already had maybe 25 minutes of discussion on just that. And I would not ask municipality to put it out unless we all okayed them. Cause they'll look at it and say, I'm not gonna
This,
do that.
this motion isn't saying we're asking municipalities to put this version in.
This is sample language.
This is just an example, so they have something to react to. They can bring back that feedback, they
Yeah,
can
but
take
they're
our
gonna look at
feedback.
it and say, you want us to put this in? And you're saying, no, we'll give you something else a little bit different.
Minor
No,
tweaks, I would say.
I would say we should go to them with what we want them to put in, and then they can say yes or no.
That's what we're
Oh, that's not what we said
That's
here.
what we're doing in general, and if they want
Yes.
something to change, we'll have to change it.
In general. Oh, we just
This
said we're
is,
gonna
I think
ask.
we're directionally aligned on the language, and I think there might be some minor tweaks. I think when Corey goes to them, she's going to say, this is what we're looking to have you put in. Recognizing that before this goes to print, we'll take it back to the board for final agreement. There might be some minor tweaks. And then, but Corey's saying it's gonna take time to have the conversations with all of the municipalities. And so this is just allowing her to do that with our pretty much directionally aligned language, recognizing we're gonna have some tweaks.
Well, what I said was we should go to them with our final thing and say, would you put this in?
They may have thoughts on this that we
Yeah, that's
haven't
a good
even
point.
thought about. and I
So you're
really
gonna
think-
entertain like 15 to 18 different,
No, there will be
revisions?
one final that you will see before it goes to print, but you are allowing me to go talk to municipalities to show them the draft, given the input that you've provided tonight, and then I'll come back with any input that they have. Okay.
Can you call a roll, please?
I have a motion and a second. I have a request to call the roll on the vote, and I will ask you to do the roll call.
Ms. Bushman,
Yes.
Ms. Potter Nelson,
Yes.
Ms. Mercer,
Yes.
Mr. Kowalski,
Yes.
Mr. Pope,
yes,
Mr. Liebrick,
Yes.
Mr. Summers.
No.
Mr. Lepak,
No.
Ms. Erler.
Yes.
Motion carries.
Thank you. We will move into Educational Services Committee report, and I'll turn that over to G. As chair.
LG.
No. Anyway, we had three things happen at our educational services meeting, one of which you're gonna hear from Jen a little bit later, so I'm not gonna talk about that. One was a nice description by Trevor, and I'm not gonna say his last name.
I can now.
Yes,
Kitchen.
you say that.
New kitchen, right?
New Kitcher?
New kitchen?
New kitchen? Well, that's easy.
Am I right?
New Kirch.
New kitchen.
New Christian. Trevor, anyway, Trevor's the junior high counselor at Ben Franklin, one of them. And he was talking to us, showed us some statistics about how the last year went, how this year's going as far as meetings and what those meetings were about. And what I did like at the end, he gave us some anecdotal information, just what he felt kids are feeling like and what they're saying and so forth. And at the end, I asked that we could have a high school presentation. I think we're gonna have that sometime. And part of it was working with the Character Strong program with the kids, okay? Then the other one was a presentation by Jeff Millsna about the numbers, the junior high enrollment trends. And it looked like a couple years ago, we switched Kennedy kids to go to Ben Franklin instead of PJ's. And that has evened the numbers up.
Isn't it the other way around?
The
other way around.
The PJs instead
They went to
of that.
PJ's instead of that.
That's what I meant.
Okay.
And it showed that the numbers have nicely evened up between Ben Franklin and PJ's over a period of a couple of years. Spash is kind of holding steady, back up and down a little bit. We're at 1470, roughly 500 kids a class. And Pods is up and down a lot. They've gone from 120 to 86 and now up to 105. And those are the trends that Jeff gave us. We asked him about CFS. CFC, sorry. And he explained to us it's very, very difficult to get numbers on that because kids are very fluid there, going in and out at different times of year. So that was his report, and that's my report.
Thank you.
The last item.
The one item
Yeah,
that
Jen.
is the item for action is the open enrollment space determination for 2026-27 school year.
Thank you very much for the introduction, and again, Happy New Year, good to see all of you. Each year, our school board gets to take a look at open enrollment spots, both within general education programming and special education programming. So that's something we regularly talk about every single school year. In determining general education open enrollment, we of course look at our overall practices and policies. You're very aware that we've especially been digging into open enrollment in general, with different recruitment campaigns. And so our overall recommendation would be the same as it's been since I've been in the director's seat, to have open seats for open enrollment in general education programming, no limit to that. Looking for students to be able to enroll in any of our programs with general education programming. For special education, it's always a lot more that goes into it. At one point historically, we would count number of students. We've learned a lot from them that one student can require much more than another child, and also that can change depending on the type of programming or the age of their programming. For example, our little children require much more hands-on support compared to our senior high school students. We're also quite a large district, so we offer programs that are special, such as Pods with our charter program, or we have Beyond 18 programs such as Project Search for job training. So we look at each of those and consider how can we serve our students who live in our attendance area, and then potentially could we open spots for students who live outside of our attendance area. For special education, we have a lot of students right here in Stevens Point who need us. So I'm not recommending any open seats other than one open seat at Point of Discovery School. And as I've talked about, Pods always has its own application procedure, so they go hand in hand. The student would both need to meet the requirements and the mindset, the grades, all those kinds of things that is taken into account to be accepted into Pods, as well as be a good fit for a mostly inclusion model that we run at Point of Discovery School for special education. We look at each of those applications individually and make a good fit. In the past, you've seen some numbers for Project Search, which again is a Beyond 18 program for students who are working on job skills training, and that's in partnership with DVR, or the Department for Vocational Rehabilitation. So students with disabilities who need some job training aren't quite yet ready to move on to a full-fledged job after high school. In the past, we had opened that program up for open enrollment, but that's come with a lot of cons to the district. In consultation with the business department and also the DPI, I'm recommending that we don't have any open enrollment seats in that program, but that we do honor any LEAs or local districts in the area who'd like to look for a seat in our program. Again, if we have it, we would always serve our students in Stevens Point first through a 660301 agreement, which is basically an exchange of funds for them to pay for their student to attend our Beyond 18 Project Search program. That's in alignment with the financial recommendations straight from DPI. So you would have no spots for open enrollment, but just know that through our application project, through Project Search, we would accept districts looking to send a student to Project Search through that process. And they've all been notified of that change. I'm happy to answer any questions, but the full motion would be two-part: to approve unlimited general education 4K seats and unlimited K-12 general education non-resident seats available under open enrollment for 26-27 school year as presented. And then 2, to approve 0 multi-categorical for early childhood programming for grades K-6, for grades 7-12, for PODS, and for Project Search. For 1 seat at PODS as presented.
So any questions of Jenny at all with respect to the recommendation? So we'll do these in 2 motions. The first will be to approve unlimited general education 4K seats, unlimited K-12 general education non-resident seats available under open enrollment for the 2026-27 school year as presented. So I have a motion. Do I have a second?
Second.
I have a motion and a second. Any discussion or questions on the motion? Hearing none, all those in favor with aye?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. The second motion is to approve 0 multi-categorical all disability areas for early childhood programming, 0 multi-categorical all disability areas for grades K-6 in person, 0 multi-categorical all disability areas for grades 7-12, parentheses Ben's, PJ's Spash CFC in person, 1 multi-categorical all disability areas for PODS, and 0 multi-categorical all disability areas for Project Search available for the 2026-27 school year as presented.
Second.
I have a motion and a second. Any discussion on that motion? Hearing none, all those in favor with aye? Aye. Any opposed with nay? Motion carries. Thanks, Jenny.
Thank you, Jenny.
Now we're gonna move into WASB resolutions. And so what we did last year, I'm hoping we could maybe do it this year, is if board members have any concerns about any of them, could you shout out the numbers and I'll have Corey keep track of them, and then we will work through those rather than going through every resolution.
I think we've done, I'm sorry.
Oh, I was just gonna say Corey sent something regarding Kettle Moraine, and if you could just add a little bit of clarity in terms of what you're looking for us to do with that information.
Could
Yes.
because mine it'll.
Go ahead.
I just wanna say this real
Yeah.
quick. We've usually, if we don't discuss it, we vote yes, is that correct?
Yeah.
So we don't have to discuss the ones we all feel.
That's correct.
All
So
right,
if
sorry.
Good clarification.
if people don't have a concern about one, we tended to just vote for it, and then we, rather than going through every one of them.
We did that one year. It was fun.
I know.
So Jen, my understanding, oh, I'm sorry, go ahead, Marty.
No, why don't you answer Jen's question first? I'll ask
My
later.
understanding with the Kettle Moraine is that they are asking, or they will be introducing at the delegate assembly, the opportunity for districts to belong to WASB on a tiered level. There are some districts that have chosen not to collaborate with WASB because they don't agree with their advocacy efforts. So they want to take part in parts of WASB, but not the advocacy part.
And the way that works at the delegates assembly is all the resolutions that have gone through the regular order process, which are the ones that we're looking at tonight, are acted upon.
Okay.
And then there is a time at the end of that where school districts are able to, if they had made a proposal and it was turned down, they are able to request that it still be reheard, even though the committee said no to
And this
it.
is one of them.
And then there's another section of proposals, it sounds like this one, that have never been
Okay.
presented at all.
Okay.
And so are coming up new, and that's why it indicated that it requires a 2/3, I think it's a 2/3 vote for any of those. If it hasn't gone through the delegate committee and been approved, those other two categories require a 2/3 majority vote to allow the membership to hear it.
Okay.
So they do come up more often, yeah, anyhow. So.
What kind of fun am I walking into?
Well, in the past, they have, it's difficult for something to come in at the end. Cause people,
They run out of time.
they don't know,
Yeah.
well, they don't know, people are unaware of what's going on, and I don't recall, correct me if I'm wrong, I think I've been to four of those, and people usually say, let's do it next year, if you really wanna go through the process.
So you'll be one of the smartest people in the room
Oh.
then. You'll know.
You would have been anyway.
Okay, so any board members with
Question.
questions about any of the,
So
all
I
of the
guess
numbers?
just, I mean, well, I don't, 1 and 2, no, what is it? Like, oh, so are we, we're sending forth 2 opposing motions.
Correct, that would be.
11 and
So
12?
in
10
theory,
and 11.
We're gonna have to vote on one or the other, yeah.
okay, so we vote on them separately.
Yeah.
Well, you decide what direction you want Jen to vote at the delegate assembly. So with 9 and 10,
Okay,
she's gonna need to
10 and
know from,
11.
or 10 and 11, with this group, which one does this group support?
But there's a caveat to that, is because people will get up and they will propose changes, substantive changes in many cases, that will change the whole, reverse the meaning. And then you vote on that, and then you vote on the resolution after that. And so if Jen is gonna be there, you gotta, some will change.
Right.
So our direction might not mean anything by that.
Well,
If
and
I
our-
understand generally how this group feels, I feel like I can hopefully represent given whatever
And
changes.
the motion, as it's always been, G, is that we allow Jen to make the decision on behalf of this board when she is there.
Sure.
And I would recommend that we do that based on the information that she hears during the debate.
Okay, so 10 and 11,
Not, yeah, 10 and 11.
start at,
Okay.
okay, and any other,
I have a few, so number 1. Then I asked Chris on, I don't know what number 3 means, I'm,
I can get a little bit of clarification.
okay, so
Yeah.
number 3, and then number 5, I think we had a conversation about. Number 7, number 9.
So far I have 1, 3, 5, 7, 9, 10, 11.
Let's do all of them then. What the heck?
Close.
Cause I got questions about other ones.
Oh, jeez, I got a
What numbers do you,
We're gonna just take numbers to talk
we're
about?
gonna list all the
Let's
ones that have
start.
questions.
2, 4, 6, 7. Just kidding.
2, 10, and what are the 2 that are exactly opposite?
Yeah,
that's
that's
10 and 11.
10 and 11,
We're
10 and
already-
11.
We're already
Okay,
talking.
okay, so two.
Yeah, I'd like to talk two for a second.
Okay,
All right, let's start with one.
name of two? Or no, number
one. One.
So I'm looking for conversation about number one, and for the benefit of the community, it is titled Opposing the Removal of Caps from the Wisconsin Parental Choice Program. And the rule or the resolution would indicate that the WASB supports maintaining an enrollment cap of 10% and an income cap of 220% of the federal poverty level on participation in the Wisconsin Parental Choice Program. So, do you wanna go
Yeah,
down?
so right now, it's 10% this year, it's 10%. There are two districts in the state that have reached the 9% cap. I don't know if they reached the 10% cap. It seems the legislature has made the rule of after the 10% cap, it goes away, and the 220% cap on federal poverty level. It just doesn't seem like we need to have an opposition why my opinion is choice schools and public schools can work together in a collaborative environment, and this, I think, impedes collaboration.
So I do wanna clarify that so people don't think that we're like
No.
voting.
No, I'm not saying
I think we need to clarify.
No, I'm just saying, I wanna clarify that we are going to recommend, Jen vote either yay or nay at the school board conference delegate assembly.
Correct.
What happens then is those positions that are taken at that delegate assembly are put into the WASB resolution book that provides direction to the WASB as to what matters to approach the legislature on to ask them to change state law. So it's not like we're
This is, right, and that is an influencing arm, but it's not, I mean,
We're not
legislation's
changing
not
law here.
correct,
Right.
correct.
And the second thing is, if we vote for decoupling, it does not impact local taxes. If we vote on decoupling.
Are we talking about number one or?
Yeah, so it talks about number
Just
one.
brought up decoupling.
Right, but it talks about increases local tax burdens in the resolution submitted by Marinette in that. So it's not, it is related to number one. So it can, if their thing is that it affects tax burdens, but it wouldn't necessarily affect tax burdens, it's decoupled.
So I have two reasons that I would support this. And the first one is currently with the current system, with not decoupling, the increasing number of students that are choosing to attend voucher schools impact the amount of state aid funding available at the state level. Because both public school, as Mike explained at a previous meeting, both public schools and the choice schools are being funded from the same pot of money. And so it does potentially impact that. I also do have some concerns about the income cap, because I do believe that philosophically, when the choice program was first brought into place, the concept was that it was really to help utilize dollars, public dollars, to support those families who could not afford to choose to attend private schools. And so I have some concerns about lifting that cap, because, I mean, I had
There's no.
I had my kids attend both public school and I had kids attend private school, and as a parent, we paid for private school for our kids. We could afford to do it.
There's no resolution anywhere in the legislature about the 220%.
It's-
But it has been there in the
Right here.
past.
The
It's right
WASB
there.
supports maintaining an enrollment cap of 10% and an income cap of 220% of
The
the
legislature
total.
has repeatedly
very
brought up an
low.
income cap
So-
for discussion.
Universal, is that what we're talking about?
This is what the,
I'm just reading what the resolution is, so.
right there.
So I believe I understand the importance of providing choice, but it's my personal belief that if a family can afford to pay for private school for their children, that they should do so.
220% of the federal poverty level is significantly low. I would say 150% is also low. 100% is low. They can't afford it either. So I mean, I think we just need to be careful when we say if they can afford, because there are people that don't fall within these guidelines that still can't afford.
Other thoughts on number one?
Other thoughts? Okay, so I'm going to ask for board members to take a vote on how we would like to have Jen vote on this item.
So do we say yes or no?
Yes, and
Yes
do it
would
in-
be opposing it or supporting it, and no would be opposing this, right?
Yes would be in the affirmative.
And
You're
would-
supporting it.
Yeah,
And
supporting
so
number
just
one.
just so I'm clear, this isn't changing anything, this is maintaining.
Correct.
And also what I heard is there's only 2 districts in this state that have come close to the 10% cap. Okay,
I would add to that, though, while we are not close to the 10% cap, our voucher costs have gone up 1,018% over the last 10 years, and that is not going to that I don't think is going to diminish. Will we ever reach the cap? I don't know, but I would like it to maintain in place.
And it's also statewide. I mean, so,
Mhm.
so that statewide, this program has an impact on state for our schools, so I am asking again for a vote. If you vote yes, it's to tell Jen to vote yes on this resolution. If you vote no, it's to tell her to vote no. So all those in favor of Jen voting yes, say aye.
Raise your hand so we can count.
Aye.
If everybody says
Okay, aye.
aye.
Okay, all those in favor of Jen voting no. Okay, so that's a 7 to 2.
and just, okay, so family of 5 at the 220% level is $37,000, just for reference.
The person who spoke said 70,000, so that was interesting.
Yeah, just ask.
I mean, I believe your math.
ChatGPT, no,
say 70,000.
this is in Wisconsin.
Yeah, WPC, I don't know, you'd have to, I don't know what the numbers are.
Okay,
Like,
so
we
the
need
next
to
one
go
is
on
2. So 2 is titled Revisions to the School District and School Report Card Process.
What is
The resolution is forwarded, the WASB calls on the state superintendent of public instruction and legislature to collaborate and amend the school district and school report card process and relevant state statutes to reflect the following considerations. A, student achievement and growth should be valued equally. B, eliminate practice of weighting student proficiency based on free and reduced lunch population sizes. C, take into account schools with a high degree of advanced placement, international baccalaureate, dual credit, career and technical education, and extracurricular offerings. D, include fiscal efficiency in report card scoring. And E, any changes to the report card scoring and or relevant statutes should be considered with input from school leaders from all CSAs in the state. So G, what were the concerns?
Well,
you wanted to raise?
I would vote to oppose this for the following reasons. First of all, I know, Jim, you have talked about this
Yeah,
before, and I do agree with you that it's the the raw data before it's adjusted is important to know. But I think you've gleaned that from some of the information, right? It's in there, but you gotta look for it. And I would say okay with that, except that, we're public school, we don't choose who comes through the door, and some school districts are very poor, and take their students as they are, and they would be penalized by this because they can't say, well, we don't want you, we want you, because you're gonna do well, and we're gonna offer baccalaureate programs and stuff like that, but they're, I don't wanna say forced, they're mandated, that's forced. Part of the trust is that we take everybody. And so I think that needs to be incorporated into the final scoring for achievement. And I also wrote in here, what, schools recognize and reward schools that, well, aren't they rewarded because they got great students already? Those students are doing real well. So, I would say that, the other thing I wanted to say, I was at a meeting last year where a whole room full of people were just livid about our achievement scores, the way they're total. Because Chris and I have talked about it. The numbers, they don't really mean what you think they mean. So people are crying for some other method. But I don't like the things that were listed here because I think a public school takes kids as they are, and we do the best job we can do. And we have wonderful teachers, as I almost jumped up when the gentleman before said they were looking for better teaching. And that just, I almost jumped out of my chair, because we have great teaching. And it should not be denigrated by the fact that we take students that many private schools will not take. So that's my say.
I didn't like this resolution just for, not for, those are good reasons too, G, but I just thought it was way too vague. I don't see good direction. Include fiscal efficiency. Who gets to define fiscal efficiency? What is the reward for fiscal, like, take into account, okay, what does that mean exactly? Like, it's just not, there's not enough clarity in this resolution for me to feel comfortable with what these things mean and what we're telling them that we want to do.
Jim, I don't know anyone that, besides Chris and Corey, that reads the school report cards as much as you. I would love your thoughts here.
I think this is muddy in the field. I think the district report cards are complex enough and almost too complex, and they keep changing them, so how do you go back and compare?
Yeah, you're.
And so, to me, I focus on, there's a whole lot of stuff that you try to make reasoning or excuse or however you wanna say of why one school might do better than the other, and recognize that, yeah. We looked at Cedarburg and how Cedarburg or New Berlin, they got, 90 percentile or 90 scores in the 90s for English and math. Well, they also don't have near the number of
Free and
reduced lunch. Now, in our own district, we kind of went against that. I mean, Jefferson has a high level of that, and yet they perform quite well. And that, that should be called out, but as a positive thing. I see this as just way too complex, way too vague, and I'm not in favor of constantly throwing nuance into the DPI report card.
One thing you said too was, you said 90%.
It's
I
not
think it
90%.
slipped out.
The score is 90.
Yeah,
Yeah,
but
score is 90.
when you say 90%,
Yeah,
but
yeah,
what do
correct,
people, what do people see when they see it? They see what you said, 90%.
Right, and they think achievement, and
And
it's
it's not,
not true.
it's not at all. I would be in favor of a different way of doing things, but I'm not in favor of these.
I just thought it was a bit ironic that the rationale for the change was that the DPI keeps changing.
Yeah.
They're asking the DPI to change it again.
Right.
So I guess I'm hearing consensus of us that we should vote, that Jen should vote no on this
Yeah.
one?
No.
Okay, thank you.
No.
I think we've got consensus, yeah. Okay, great. Number three is,
I just don't know what it means.
so it's called Amendment to Resolution 5.22 Funds Distribution. This is amending an existing thing about fund distribution. And it states that the WASB recommends that the State Education Agency, which would be DPI, be assigned the jurisdiction to supervise the distribution of all funds intended for educational programs serving youths of elementary and high school age in any school system receiving public funds in Wisconsin. Additionally, WASB supports state educational agency supervision and distribution of all federal education funds if federal funding from the U.S. Department of Education is changed to be federal block grants or other funding sent directly to states from federal agencies. So it repeals the existing flow-through, which is the current is that the WASB supports all federal grants flowing directly to school districts and cooperative educational
So now it's
services.
putting another person in the mix?
No, so currently, the existing resolution indicates we do have some state and federal grants that flow through the DPI. We have some federal grants, however, though, that do flow directly into school districts in the form of flow-through funds or flow-through grants.
So
In
like
anticipation that there's been some
Right.
discussion about potentially transitioning, say, Title I, Title II, Title III, Title IV to block grants. And this resolution would prevent potentially employing a third-party organization to manage those grants. This is sort of proactively suggesting that the DPI has the experience and the expertise to be able to manage grants, that they would be the entity that all federal and state grants would flow through. If indeed there is potentially a change in some of those block grant structures that currently exist for federal programs.
but specifically Title 1, 2, 3, 4.
Correct. I mean, that's an example. Those are examples of some federal grant funds that flow through our district. And those currently right now come through the DPI. But in the event that there would be a change in that structure, that there would be block grants, absent this resolution, there could potentially be a third-party organization that could be employed to manage those grants. This resolution suggests that those should continue to flow through DPI, even if the grant structure changes to block grants in the future.
We need your explanation and the rationale, 'cause
Third
that tells me
parties
more than
such
this
as like
Well, are they talking about like in 2027 that someone could do like a federal, in their federal return if they wrote something for like a parental choice, like universal parental choice, is that what it's talking about? From the feds? Because they're, but it's talking about an agency distributing that money? Is that what this is talking about?
I don't believe.
what do you mean by third party? Like who would be the third party?
Well, and no one says that in the resolution, right? So it's a little silent and it's a little vague on that. Like, could there be another organization that would potentially
But
manage those grant
CISAs
funds
or-
outside of the DPI or CISAs?
I was surmising that they want it to come directly to DPI and not to the legislature. Because what
and
they're
that-
directing it, because,
that could
it
be
would be the federal government.
This is also not
Right.
clear to me, so I'm not
With,
comfortable.
anything dealing with federal, nobody knows. It could change tomorrow. So really this,
True,
I
good
don't
point.
know.
Right.
And what their recommendation is that those funds just go directly
Through
through
the
the
DPI.
DPI because they're used.
They want them to advocate for that.
And from that perspective, I would be in support of the resolution. In the event there were a change to federal grant structures in the future.
If that's what it means to say,
If
this
that's
stuff
what
is
it
meant
means.
for education.
We don't know what it
And
means.
that we don't want the legislature to say, well, I know they sent it here for education, but we're gonna send it to DNR.
Just
Clear.
after.
I would assume there's legal issues with that anyway, but so.
Has there been a legislative proposal to do something different? Like, what is this reacting to?
All we know is that there's going to be changes, we don't know what they're going to be.
Are people comfortable with directing Jen to make a decision based on the discussion there? So that, generally speaking, if the concept is that it's just a way to ensure education funds go to education, that we are generally supportive of that. But I think right now, she's really the one that's gonna be in a position to make an educated
When I
decision.
hear- yeah,
When you
okay.
hear what's going on in the conversation. Are people comfortable with that?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay, all right, so that's
Yeah.
consensus. So
Yeah,
Jen,
I got
you're on your own.
Okay. Clear as mud.
Next one is 5.
Number 5 is.
No, number 4.
I didn't hear anyone say.
No one said number
No one
four.
said number four.
Oh, okay.
So number 5 is substance abuse disorder and treatment aid. Create, the WISB supports legislation to establish a new categorical aid to fund and support school-based substance use disorder prevention and treatment-related services. This aid should be comprehensive in order to fully fund necessary resources and staffing that districts may need. Special provisions should be included for small schools to address issues with economies of scale. Use of these funds should be identified and prioritized at the local level. Such uses may include, but are not limited to, contracting with service providers, employment of specialists or other professionals, training for staff, and any other additional resources as needed.
My difficulty with this one is schools deal with mental health. We heard that, and educational support. Do we want to go further into that? Or do we want to tell that maybe there should be more grants to provide that, but schools should stay in the school lane, not in the social worker, counselor, mental health lane? Like, is it our job to hire more mental health, or is it, I think education should say education, we deal with it, but is it our role, our responsibility to do more social work, more, we deal with it, yes, but is it our role? No, not necessarily. Absolutely, I'm not arguing that
And we
point,
do.
but is it our role to do that?
Well, we're gonna be dealing with it.
My,
one way or
my,
the
my,
other.
my problem is the new monies. Like, what are we talking about, dollar amount? Where does that money come?
$35
Right,
this year,
It's the
right.
same, it's the peanuts out of the jar thing. It's now we have another peanut coming out of the jar.
Yeah.
But we have to deal with it.
But would
I'm
this
saying,
add
not
to the
saying
jar?
should we have to.
I mean,
See, we don't know.
The
That's what makes me uncomfortable is I'm not gonna support more new monies across the state when we don't, where is this money coming from? What is the dollar amount? How is it being allocated? How is it being managed? This is also vague.
Right. I mean, we know there's growing needs. We
Yeah,
know
I'm
we have to
generally
support
supportive.
But why don't we say
of
it goes to
supporting
the
the need.
county and the county, provides those to us, rather than us saying, do you know what, those are our employees now.
Don't we do this already? I
We
mean,
do.
We
sure.
do,
But
yeah.
they want
But
to
it's through grants and it's not
increase.
through our funding, it's through grant funding.
Well, this wants to create special.
Special, a new categorical
New
aid.
But
categorical
we,
aid.
we do it already, so.
Yeah.
But it's not through us, this is telling us that we have to fund these things.
Two, one, I think it's not that we ignore this stuff, it's that.
Absolutely not.
This is duplication of services the county does this
Yeah.
already.
Well,
We
and-
should, this should, substance abuse treatment should not be taking place inside the school. That should be taking place in private, at a private place, or at the county centers like that.
But
I think that's an expansion of scope that we should not be doing. And
It's,
two,
it's, go ahead, I didn't want
and
to.
two, the other thing is, I see this as a gimmick, the same way the local municipalities switched around our property taxes with taking garbage service and water and sewer service off of our tax bill, but not changing our tax bill, and then adding a whole night, like creating a new utility. And so this was a way to, let's increase funds, but yet, the money ends up being fungible. And so this is a backdoor way of asking for funding, and I think it's a little bit devious in my opinion. I think if we're gonna ask for funding, we should get general aid funding and not say, well, we're gonna
And then be
do
able to
this and then still
prioritize
ask
it based
for
on
our-
district need,
and
yeah.
still ask for our
Yeah.
11,000, whatever from our state. Now we want another, and then say, well, now the money we were going to spend on that, now can you spend on something else? It's a backdoor way of not being open and honest about how we're doing the funding, and I opposed it when their tax bills did that, and I oppose it like this too. I don't like the shell game and
Well, to get
rearranging the
into
deck
this,
chairs
to,
that's
to
going on.
owning the substance abuse within the district. There are avenues, there are paths, we help our students that need to go there, but to have it live within the school district, I agree with you, Alex. Let's focus on what we currently have within our remit, and we have a lot of opportunities to improve that remit right, currently anyway, without growing the scope.
In talks with our previous, some of our site people that I talked to, they even said schools should be good at identifying and then refer to the appropriate source. And not be doing it inside the school.
So, and I would agree with that, but I would like us to live in a perfect world.
Yeah, but it's a
I mean,
problem
I
that
do-
does exist in the
I do
schools.
believe,
We have to
I
deal
do
with it.
believe that, I mean, to me, what this was an indirect way of saying our school districts need additional financial support to deal with the significantly increased mental health needs and addiction needs and counseling needs that so many kids have, and frankly, many families are not capably addressing. And so we are dealing with it in our schools, and it is taking a lot of our staff time, in particular teachers, to manage classrooms. And so the concept of recognizing the need for social workers and school counselors, mental health professionals within our schools, I do think in some ways reflects the reality of that need. So I'm not real comfortable with the mechanism by which they're asking to do it. I mean, they're literally asking to create a separate new basket of money. And my preference would be that they just
work within the existing model,
increase
yeah.
general aid
Yes.
to support schools in delivering, providing the staffing that kids need.
I agree.
But I understand that the underlying need, because I think we're seeing it in our.
Well,
There's no argument.
Yeah,
right, yeah.
It's not an argument.
Right. So
Everybody wanna say no?
is
I'm holding my
everybody
hand up for no.
comfortable with?
No.
What are we raising?
No.
I don't know.
I don't know, G started raising his hand, so I just figured.
So why don't we go ahead and take a vote? So a vote, and we're gonna make it simple. A vote yes would be to tell Jen to vote yes on this, and a vote no would be to tell Jen to vote no on it. So are there any members that would like Jen to vote yes on this? 1, 2, 3, 4. Are there any members who would like Jen to vote no on it?
Next one, Nick, is 7.
7 is universal state covered meals.
I forgot 8 as well.
Universal state covered meals. To create, the WASB supports state legislation to establish and fund a universal school meal program to cover the cost of all student meals not covered by federal programs.
As I shared with Chris, while on the surface it looks great, giving kids a Pop-Tart in the morning with red dye 40, when we know that increases ADHD and hyperactivity, and doesn't actually give them, like true sustenance. I have a problem with just giving them junk food because in our school, and maybe it's different in Spash, in Point District, but I know at Rochelle they would get, a Pop-Tart and a thing of chocolate milk, or, a thing of cereal, and some high sugar, high things aren't setting kids up for success. So while it's great to give them something, we also know that when we give them whole foods, good foods, it increases, if we give them sugar, of course, it's gonna create more issues. It doesn't qualify, and we're talking about all over. We're talking about here to Beaver Dam, to Adams, to Marinette, to Madison. Like, there's no qualification of quality food that we know can actually improve learning. This is just, here's some food. I have a problem with that because I want good food given. It doesn't qualify that. I'm not just gonna be like, here, and we're gonna give crap food. I want good food given to these kids.
I would also like good food given to kids, but I have worked extensively in communities where there is no food available to kids. And if I have to choose between a Pop-Tart and nothing, I'm choosing the Pop-Tart.
Frankly, this district, and of course, we've only done the lunches, we haven't done breakfast or anything, but the lunches are nutritious and they are balanced, and our staffing here, they are doing an excellent job with nutrition.
And they've been awarded nationally.
Well, remember, we went to lunch, I can't remember what school, and every kid gets an apple on their tray. What do we see in the garbage can?
All the apples.
And-
Yeah.
And it was discouraging, disheartening that we're doing everything we can.
Then why are we paying for it?
So that's, so I would like to say sorry, and I've been raising my hand and everyone's talking over me, so no, that's okay. No, I'm not looking at this as from a nutrition lens. We do not currently deny meals to students that need it, 1. 2, I am not open to paying for meals for families that can't afford it. We are already, like, I look at the budget, I look at it from, so to me, what this is doing is just expanding that cost. We are not denying meals for children that can't afford it today. And this would be paying it for meals for families that can't afford it. And so I am going to say no.
I think, yes, someone had their hands up. Having lived in a state previously where we did have both breakfast and lunch covered, it is a game changer across the board. I am 100% in favor of this.
I also agree that with Liz, and it eliminates an administrative burden of having to track who is and is not eligible for these programs. It takes a lot of burden off our staffing in that way, and that's why other states have moved towards this, because they said the administrative burden costs more than actually providing food for our students.
100%.
Jim, did you have a comment?
Yeah, I think if we're gonna be consistent about talking about affordability, I mean, I would look at that and go, I'd send my kid have a different lunch anyway, or whatever, but I think the idea of, let's fund every lunch, whether, we, at this district, let's be clear on this too. We already have universal free breakfast for everyone, not just the low income and reduced. Free and reduced, everybody is eligible for free breakfast. Anyone who's eligible for reduced also gets it for free. We cover that difference. So in our district, there really is even no such thing as a reduced. If you're reduced, it's still free. So there's still no cost. So we've taken that level and brought it up, and they already get this. This would mostly be, let's fund all the kids, and particularly the ones that don't. I also see this as similar to our mental health issue, that this is a moving the deck chairs, and we're gonna ask for separate extra funding that we can then redirect funding in another way. I think it's the same principle here. It's not, voting no on this doesn't mean you're against kids getting nutrition. The kids we're talking
And they
about
are
are
getting it
already
today.
getting it.
Yeah.
They're already getting it for free. I would like to see the data on it actually costing that much more to
Right,
administer
the
the
administrative
program
yeah.
compared to having kids that can manage.
Mike,
their
what's
own
the,
lunch.
yeah.
So I'm in support of this, and the main reason I'm in support of this is because we have always had a significant number of families who choose not to apply for free and reduced lunch, even though they are eligible and even though they need it. We have had a significant problem also in that families who are eligible for free and reduced lunch, and then because they maybe get a little bit additional money and then no longer are eligible, even if they get back to the point where they're eligible again, it can take significant time for them to be reapproved and allowed those free meals. We as a district currently are sitting at how much money in terms of bills, unpaid lunch?
A lot.
We're significant dollars because families, yes, we are feeding children, but that is racking up bills and debt for families. And we as a district are seeing increased families with socioeconomic pressures. I'm especially very concerned moving into next year as we take a look at what the impact of some of the federal programs that maybe are going to be limited in terms of food stamps, in terms of Medicaid. So for that reason, I guess I am in support of this, for those reasons.
Can I ask a question on school lunch debt? We have, I don't know, what is our free and reduced lunch rate?
37%.
What is it, 47?
37. I think it's 37.
Is our school lunch debt, is that included in it, or is that just the people who can afford to pay but aren't paying?
The school lunch debt is the amount of debt that people have that they've gone below, like into the negative.
But those are the people who are supposed to pay, but the
That
people
aren't.
who are getting free and reduced are not included in that.
No, they would not
They would not
be contributing to that debt. Or they, yeah.
So
And
there's
that's
a lot of people who should be
significant
paying but aren't.
But that, and that is only people who apply for free and reduced.
Because we
They
won't, we
fill out
won't
the
say
form.
no to a meal.
Which they may not do.
So I think we've all had our say, so again, we're gonna do it simple. If you vote yes, it's telling Jen to vote yes on this. If you vote no, it's telling Jen to vote no on this. So all those saying yes,
Yes.
yes. And all of those saying no. Okay.
Next one is,
Eight.
eight.
Okay, Public Education Endowment Fund. Create. The WASB supports legislation that creates a public education endowment fund to be invested on behalf of Wisconsinites to fully and equitably fund public education across the state.
Or we could just fully fund it.
Yeah.
Education
Rather
across
than
the
having people
state.
donate.
But is this like asking people to donate to this? And then how is it being allocated? There's nothing, it's too ambiguous. It's all just too ambiguous for me to be able to support, because while all schools should be well funded, not the argument, there's no mechanism, there's no nothing, it's no.
Like, wouldn't we wanna?
And people can still fund that,
Yeah,
we
right,
just
so if,
accepted donations
so
at the
if
beginning of
Portage
the
County
meeting.
received all this funding, it could potentially go to, it, yeah, I see what you're saying.
We just,
Fund 21.
yeah, we just,
My concern about an endowment fund is that an endowment fund, you basically, I mean, a traditional endowment fund, which I'm assuming that's what this is, you donate money and then the fund holds all of the principal. And the only thing that
Interest
can be
is given.
spent is the interest. And I
Even interest on $1 billion isn't
when
enough.
when the funding is needed now, and so I would prefer to encourage
people
people
to donate to their local
now
school districts
to
if they want.
donate to their
Directly.
to their
Directly.
schools or
Directly.
to directly, so that's my.
I agree.
Feels like consensus.
Sounds like a no.
No, I got it.
Okay, consensus is no. Okay.
Do you remember that one year there was like 30 of them? Thank God there wasn't 30 this year.
Yeah, but it seems like they're gonna generate a lot of discussion.
Just wait.
Okay, so we have
Used to be home
nine.
early one time.
Okay, so
Too many
9
people, you gotta have
is
a quorum.
amendment to resolution 3.241, early childhood education funding and public-private partnerships. So it's amending existing 3.241. The WASB supports state-funded public schools 3K and full-day 4K for all Wisconsin children The WASB also supports collaboration between public schools and other public agencies and programs, private childcare providers, and Wisconsin institutions of higher learning. The WASB further supports district discretionary use of expanded Title I dollars to earlier grade levels by districts meeting the benchmarks for National School Lunch Program, NSLP, direct and categorical participation in 3K and 4K student households meeting income eligibility for NSLP. That is the existing language that is an existing resolution. So what this amendment does is it adds the following. All publicly funded 3K and 4K schools, including schools receiving voucher funding or funding through public agencies other than DPI, must have the exact same accountability, reporting, and transparency standards and requirements. The WASB opposes a state funding mechanism to provide private childcare providers with a per pupil payment for 4K instruction. All 4K programs should be funded through school districts with local flexibility to contract with private childcare providers to provide 4K instruction as determined by the school board.
There's a lot of opposition from me. One, why the last paragraph most especially, why can't a private school like Canaland receive private, monies as well? And why can the district be the only one that can get funding when Canaland, and right now as it's set in the state statute that they can receive funding for 4K, why is the district the only one that can receive that funding? That's a problem for me, because we contract with them and that's still allowed, but why can't they still get the funding for 4K instruction for their own students? That's a problem for me.
Currently, for just this year, they created the Get Kids Ready program, which was the first time that they allowed childcares to receive money directly from them if they're not contracted with the district. But when they contract with the district, we provide them with funding. They do not have to have the same requirements as far as licensure goes and many other things that the public school system does. So that's why both Chris and I discussed, we would prefer to contract with them and pay them directly rather than providing two different funding mechanisms with not the same accountability measure.
So are you saying yes or no for you?
I would say that we support this.
I'm in support.
And this is your one that there's an option for additional funding through DCF, which is the Department of Children and Families. And we currently, at least at this point in time, I am unaware of any of our private childcare providers partnering with DCF, unless they have not made me aware of that. But at this point in time, all of our community partners are still continuing to partner with us, unless they made a decision that they've not made me aware of.
I would agree with this. I like this because of the same accountability and reporting.
Agreed.
No, that's what stuck out to me.
Same.
Okay,
Everybody uses
why don't we
accountability.
go ahead and take a vote on it? Again, voting yes is telling Jen to vote yes, voting no is telling Jen to vote no. So how many people would like Jen to vote yes?
6, okay.
And how many would like Jen to vote no? 3. Okay.
Now we have the two
Yeah, can we-
opposing.
Talk about
So-
those together.
So I'll read both,
Yeah.
I'll read both of them because it really is,
One or the other.
well, it's one or the other or.
Well, do it, I mean,
Or
for
no,
you to
or
read them,
neither, but-
don't we kind of understand what they
Yes, we do.
are already?
Okay.
I don't think you need to read them.
So, well, I'm reading them so the community
Yeah.
that's watching us, if they want to know what it is we're voting on, they'll have it.
Makes sense.
So 10 is supporting, quote, decoupling, quote, of public and private school funding. Create, the WSB supports legislation separating funding for parental choice and independent charter schools from the public school equalization aid formula, and instead supports the state taking full responsibility to fund payment to these schools. And 11 is opposing, quote, decoupling, quote, of public and private school funding. Create, the WASB opposes legislation separating funding for parental choice and independent charter schools from the public school equalization aid formula, and instead supports all publicly funded schools being funded by a combination of state and local tax dollars.
Which is the way it currently is.
So, which is, what is the current? So,
I support 10 so that it takes it off our voters. And it takes it off the taxes from the local constituents.
You know, I've heard both ways that decoupling will benefit public schools or keeping it coupled will benefit. I've heard
both too.
Yeah,
so-
and I really don't know what to say about this, cause I think nobody knows what it will do, if anything.
I came in here thinking I might vote no on both of them, to be honest, because I don't, regardless of how we feel about voucher funding, the underlying issue here is really whether or not vouchers should exist in the state. And we're not gonna solve it through creating two funding sources or one funding source, you know, or it goes back to like, just increase the general aid for heaven's sakes. I don't know that I feel informed enough to vote yes on either.
It's the peanuts in Mike's jar. All you're doing is dividing the same peanuts. It's not gonna make it, I think, won't make it any different.
If I had to choose between the two of them, then I don't know that I want them to decouple, because I think we should keep one source of funding for all schooling in the state.
Milwaukee is currently decoupled, just for the record. Milwaukee is currently decoupled.
It feels like a big shell game to me.
Yeah.
Voting yes on 10 would be basically making that entire long discussion we had. Right?
Correct.
Too many people
Yep.
didn't have a quorum. So
Because
for
now we
quorum,
no
you
longer
gotta have
collected the property taxes
205
levied for parental choice,
You
would no longer be levied to the local fee, we just come
From the state.
from the state as same amount instead of being on the local taxpayer collections, it would be halfway, and so there would be no reason to even send it to the
Wouldn't need an insert. It would save us $700.
I can argue the other way, because whether it's taxes to the local, from us locally, or it's taxes from us through the state, we're still paying taxes. And so ultimately, at least in the current situation, based on our long discussion earlier, we do have the ability to have the taxpayers be informed about how much of their tax dollars are going to support both public schools and both private schools, which provides some level of accountability, I do believe, for both organizations. So I'm kind of with this one, I'm kind of with Marnie in the sense of not supportive of either, with the caveat that if Jen at the delegate assembly gets some real clear.
Well, you guys, per G, this is gonna go to 7:30, they're not gonna have a quorum at the end, and this is at the end, so we might not even get there. I mean, I'm just being real, okay, so, it's like, I mean, this is the reality.
Why they are
Yeah, so.
I mean, again, I'd be comfortable with kind of.
He said till
saying-
7:30, it's just
Right.
1:30 to 3:30.
Right, was saying Jen should
This is horrible.
educate herself based on all of the conversation that's going to happen and vote in the best interest of our public schools.
I agree with G, in being to a number of different WASB events, decoupling or not, it could go either way.
Yeah.
But I think that Marnie's probably correct, leaving it coupled is probably in our best interest. The way school funding is done is very complex. You go in, you go out, you go in and out, depending on students back and forth and left and right. It's been a system we've had, whether you like it or not, for decades. It's probably better we stay with that because it's proven, we know how it works. If you take it apart.
Weren't we just like complaining about how funding works and now we're getting a chance to say, do you know what, funding is working differently. Private schools aren't gonna be funded by local taxes, we complain about it and now we're offering an
We weren't
alternative.
complaining about that. What we're complaining about is that people don't understand how the funding's done and where the funding is coming from. That's what we're talking about, is the transparency. Okay, not the way the funding's done.
I think I am frustrated with the funding model, and I do think it is very complex, so I think you guys are saying the same thing.
I don't think that decoupling fixes any problems. It just hides them. It just takes that transparency out further. Now it's, okay, a portion of your taxes are still going to fund private schools either way. When they're coupled, you know exactly what that portion is. Decoupled, it's whatever the legislature says it is.
Yes.
So what I'm hearing you guys say is that we are gonna wait to see if we even get to this in the delegate assembly, and I will hear what everyone, and then I'll make an informed decision. But per G, the likelihood is very slim.
What's it?
Are people comfortable with that?
I'm comfortable.
I'm comfortable. I am. Jen knows how I feel.
Yep.
Okay, Jen.
I trust you.
And I'm gonna,
Thank you for doing that, Jen.
Yes, yes.
There was one more. No, I don't care, I don't care.
More.
I don't care. Yes, the WIA.
But they said 1 year it got so contentious, people were just like arguing, and then so.
I have the wonderful opportunity to be the timer at the delegate assembly again this year. So
Oh my
I'll
God.
try to move all the comments along.
So if they don't get to them,
Jen, all your best executive coaching skills. Get them through.
Don't want to be hearing.
Oh, motion on that one. Okay, we need a motion on this. Oh, okay, so motion, I'm looking for a motion to approve the 2026 WASB resolution. And I'm making a motion to authorize our official delegate to vote on behalf of the full board as discussed this evening with respect to the 2026 WASB resolutions.
So moved.
Second.
All right, all those, any discussion on that?
Please,
All
no.
those in favor of aye, with aye?
Aye.
Any opposed with nay? Motion carries. Okay. Now, with respect to-
this is always the toughest spot to
Um,
be
we
in.
could make a
Tonight it
motion
might not,
for-
this might be the toughest night ever.
Yeah, so now I am
How about 30 minutes?
looking for,
Kidding, it is not gonna be.
I'm looking for a motion. We're doing budget.
Yep.
votes. Yeah, sorry.
We did that
I was a little
already.
nervous where we were going there.
Yeah.
We're good.
Okay,
Chris.
Chris. Lost the
Ready?
agenda.
Fire away.
Brevity,
Go ahead.
brevity.
Quick version.
Sure.
All right, thank you. You will all be pleased to know that the budget evaluation update is relatively brief this month. Recognizing that we were out of school for about 2 weeks in December. So relatively short updates, but I want to lead in with just an update on position review. We've reviewed a total of 548 positions. 514 of those we've categorized as fill as is. Positions that are currently frozen is 5, and positions eliminated, for those of you who don't remember, that is up 1 from
I
last
was just
month,
gonna
so that's
say,
exciting. It was 28 last month, and I'll give you an update on that in a minute. We're continuing the work on co-curricular programming review. I had indicated last month when I shared the update that we have about 700 students participating in over 50 identified co-curricular programs and or clubs. Recognizing that the number was large, we did want to do a market analysis, or we wanted to do some local comparative analysis. So we are in the process of gathering the data from Wausau, DC, Everest, Wisconsin Rapids, and Marshfield, just to get a better sense of what number of clubs that they are running and co-curricular programs they're running in their districts. Also, what is the total of stipends that they're paying out? Once we have all of that data, we're waiting on data back from just one of those districts. We want to review options to develop a system to classify co-curricular clubs and activities. You'll remember when we did the athletic programming review, we categorized all of the different sports into different tiers. And we thought that we could lay that same model over the top of this. We can't. It's just different. And in spite of wanting to simplify things to that degree, we've recognized that we're just not going to be able to use the same model. So our plan is potentially to develop maybe bands where we could make some decisions about where compensation might be placed within a particular band. And that might be some way for us to at least sort of clean up the current model, because right now there are just a lot of variations within how staff are compensated for serving as an advisor for any of those clubs.
Variations from building to building is.
Just even in terms of, yes, from building to building, but also how they're compensated. So we might have one
club versus
say like forensics or FFA, right? And one of those advisors might be getting a stipend that's considerably higher than another, even though they're supporting a similar number of students in that club. And they're meeting relatively the same number of times. So we want to look at some criteria in terms of how we can categorize those and how we can at least wrap our mind around that compensation model, because right now it's just very open-ended, and quite frankly, this hasn't been looked at for a really long time. So some of the decisions that were made about why some positions were funded this way and others were funded this way were made by people who aren't even here anymore. So it certainly warrants us taking a little bit of a closer look at how we do what we do and how we sort of tighten it up moving forward.
When do you plan to have that complete?
So once we have the data back from the one remaining district, the hope would be that we're planning. Beth has done a lot of really hard work on this up to this point, so I'm reporting, but I have not done the lion's share of the work Beth has. So the hope would be that in the next month we could bring back an update. We do need to involve a couple other stakeholders in these discussions once we get all of the data back, but the hope would be in the next month we could give you at least an update on kind of where we are in terms of that categorization.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah. Also want to take a look at balancing existing positions with current needs. In other words, do we need all of these clubs if we're running clubs and paying a stipend for perhaps a group that is only 3 or 5 or 7 students? And those are where the conversations become more difficult. This program and budget review has been, I don't want to say easy, but easier until we start to make decisions that truly impact students and impact families. So that's when the conversations become a little bit harder. And we recognize they're coming. In terms of world language programming updates, I provided a brief update on this last month, but we're going to begin working on course proposals that will come to the board in December of 2026 to shift from a 6 course sequence to 5 in 27-28, and we'll adjust the course sequence for Spanish and for French. French and Spanish will run 1 through 4, and French and Spanish, the 5th year will be the AP option. We also do have the concurrent enrollment option for both French and Spanish. That'll be the 6th year. And when the level 6, in the event the enrollment for that level 6 class is not large enough, students would still be able to take the class through UWSP. And I talked a little bit about that over the last 2 months, but we're prepared now to prepare those course proposals and to also incorporate that into the course guide for the upcoming year for 27-28. ELA programming review, we're in the process now of getting into what is our largest program review up to this point. So we're scheduling meetings with ELA department leaders to begin a comprehensive review of current course offerings, analyze course sequence to identify whether or not we have any courses that are duplicative or are addressing the exact same or at least similar standards. We also want to look at opportunities to streamline pathways while maintaining rigor and student choice. We recognize that that was something that came out of our work with, their name is escaping me at the moment. Hanover. Hanover, when they identified the need to incorporate student choice and to be sure that that was kind of central to our program review moving forward. We're going to continue to analyze historical enrollment trends to identify those courses that have low enrollment, courses that could potentially be combined or phased out over time. Again, I think it's important that the board, the community, and staff that are tuning in that are listening know that we've been able to do all of these staff reductions up to this point as part of the program review through either retirement or through resignation. Our goal is to continue to do the same. So even if we identify courses that could potentially be phased out and or eliminated, our hope is still to continue to do that through attrition, without having to cut positions, whenever we're able to do that. We want to also evaluate the potential for staffing and scheduling implications, based on the proposed changes that we might come up with after meeting with those department heads. I do want to report out on some of the cost savings that we've identified up to this point for 25-26 that we'll realize. As I said, this process continues to evolve and we're getting increasingly sophisticated. We've realized now, at least I've realized, that we have to be intentional about, yes, calling out savings, but also calling out which of those are just one-time savings and which of those are recurring. At the beginning of the budget evaluation process, now almost 3 years ago, we said, let's make it a goal to find or identify $1 million to $1.5 million in efficiencies annually. We were all really intimidated by that, but in year one, we found approximately 1.1 million. Last year, we found approximately $810,000. Now I realize that we need to find about $1 million annually in recurring savings. So the one-time savings are great, but they are just one time. That top one there is the early literacy professional development reimbursement that Corey referenced earlier. That somehow ended up being almost the exact amount we needed to fund the Roffers proposal. I don't know how that happened, but serendipity, I guess. We also have a cost savings that will be recurring from our Mid-State YA Consortium grant. Currently, we write that grant with other surrounding districts. I believe there are about 6 of them that are part of that consortium. We've now, because we've been in the YA business for long enough to feel comfortable enough taking on the grant writing component of that work on our own, which would allow us to take that, the grant writing fee is $35,000. So those have been funds that we've not had access to. Now that we can take on that grant writing on our own internally with our own staff, we'll have that additional $35,000 recurring. Marnie, go ahead.
Just acronym check.
Oh, that's right, yeah.
Oh, youth apprenticeship.
Thank you.
Sorry. The youth apprenticeship program.
And who's writing that now for us?
It would be Brian
Same.
Kostomsky.
Oh, wow,
right?
okay.
Yes. Yeah, he'll take on writing now. And, there has been some interest in how do we continue to expand our YA programming? So that additional $35,000 we can invest back in potentially expanding some hours for staff within the current CETE program or department. That would allow them to continue to be out meeting with those business partners, enhancing those relationships, and potentially, hopefully, resulting in more student placements. The rental income from the professional building, that's this year only that we can count on it because we're gonna sell it next week.
From your mouth to God's
That's right, $54,000, that's this year only, but it is annual income that is at least a one-time source of revenue that we identified. The Partners in Education through Portage County Business Council, that's an $11,000 savings in recurring. So that will be moving forward. We can count on that being funds that we won't be spending. And the eliminated position that I referenced earlier that took us from 28 to 29 was a EA position out at Kennedy Elementary that we were able to reduce based on a resignation that came through recently. And that results in a recurring cost savings of $40,519.
We're not gonna fill that position?
We are not gonna fill that position.
Is it recurring or is it just a 1 year? Tom always said it was a 1 year.
No, because that position is getting eliminated.
Well, right, but Tom always said when someone resigned, it's a 1 year savings, it's not a reoccurring.
So
If you don't fill the position.
if you don't fill it at all.
Right,
So
and we're-
Tom would argue that it was only a one-year savings when someone resigned and we hired someone in at a lower salary. Tom would have argued that that was only a one-year
But
savings.
we're sweeping this role,
Yeah,
so.
but if this were completely eliminating and not filling, I
But it's
count that as
only
recurring.
realized once. Just
I
next year's
think, I
budget
think
won't
what I always got, the sense I got from Tom was that, so you eliminate that position. So the budget is going to be $40,500 less for next year. Moving forward, you're not gonna take away another 40,000, but you won't
Budget.
have to
You don't have to
budget
budget for
for
that.
it, so
Don't understand
that's
Yeah.
that's how the way I could understand Tom's logic. That you don't get to keep taking an additional
Right.
40,000 away, but you are saving 40,000 each year, cause otherwise your budget would be
Right, right,
$40,000
yes,
more.
yes.
Right.
Yeah.
Yep. And lastly, here, we'll maintain the ongoing analysis of the athletic spending on a monthly basis. And again, we're kind of developing a baseline there, so we're looking at those monthly expenses so we can get a better handle on why we saw costs increase in that department so significantly over the last 2 years. We'll continue the world language work, advance the co-curricular review by identifying the low enrollment activities, and also develop that system for categorizing the stipends, and also continue the pre-K-12 staffing process, which Jeff and I we both have our timelines laid out, and as all of you know, that is typically where we found our largest cost savings when we've completed that annual staffing process. So we're looking at sections and we're rolling up numbers to the upcoming year, and Jeff is preparing numbers for enrolling staff and what number of sections we'll offer at Oliver Secondary. So more to come on that.
That's awesome. Awesome. Thank you so much.
You're welcome.
Thank you, Chris.
Okay, future meetings, dates and times, we have our regular board meeting on February 9th. I'm now looking for a motion to move into closed session under 1985 paren 1 paren C, considering employment, promotion, compensation, or performance evaluation data of any public employee over which governmental body has jurisdiction or exercises responsibility. We are looking at specifically administrative contracts, including the superintendent.
So moved.
Second.
All right, would you call the roll, please?
Ms. Bushman?
Yes.
Mr. Pope?
Yes.
Ms. Mercer?
Yes.
Mr. Kowalski?
Yes.
Mr. Liebrick?
Yes.
Ms. Potter Nelson?
Yes.
Mr. Summers?
Yes.
Mr. Lepak? And Ms. Erler?
Yes.
I bet